And we believe what we want, right? Like for 18 years, girls didn't poop, right? My armpits sweat no matter what. You'd literally be like encrusted, like a 16-year-old boy's like bath towel from after he found out how to jerk off.
If people will, what's going on with this mustache? Is this a newer thing?
I have a mustache?
No, like no, he has the other stuff, but the mustache just looks thicker than everything else.
Well, it's not connected, so it's a mustache.
Oh yeah, so I don't grow hair in that place there. Honestly, I probably started working out when I was like 12, and come to find out, like I was just naturally super strong. Told all my friends when I came back, hey guys, like I'm gonna go train for the Olympics, and they're like, what? I mean, these are all friends that I was like smoking weed with every day.
Yeah.
And, like, you know,
they're like, in what? Well, let's talk about that for a second. Who would you eat? Because I think Nsima, like he might not taste that good because he's too lean. Like you gotta find somebody.
You need some fatty meat.
But he is natural, so you don't get the hormones, right?
Because some people think that in the Olympics or whatever sport, that a majority of people, especially power type sports like gymnastics, lifting, etc., they think a majority of people are on something. Would you say it's a majority, or would you say it's a minority?
I'd almost say it's like 50-50 maybe.
50-50?
We use the natty or not thing so often, and especially you're seeing a lot of people point the finger at Liver King. And I think it's really easy just to say, hey, he's doing stuff. But the reason why they say he's doing stuff, or why they say others are doing stuff, just so it's like a get out of jail free card for themselves.
I quit my job, like I had about $5 grand saved. And after about 4 months, I had lost all my money and I had nothing. And to be completely honest, a lot of people notice about me on my social media, like I would go to the grocery store and steal like food. Like I had nothing. It was really, really bad. I remember like doing these events online, and I would do them barefoot because I only had one pair of shoes and I didn't want to ruin them. You'll see a point where the guy judging, he's not even looking at me. Like he'll start looking at the other guy and no repping me like right now he didn't even look at that last.
Wait, so this is just deadlifts that you're supposed to do?
My whole life is for this event right here, and you guys are taking it from me.
Yesterday, this guy, I will fucking kill you.
The first day that I launched my online program, I literally made $4,000. And I was like, fuck, this is cool. I just like doubled my paycheck.
Yellowstone gets to be kind of funny because it gets to be like a country western, like music video to a certain extent. You know,
and like murder, mystery.
Yeah.
I'll still watch, but I am curious. Are there any black people in Yellowstone? I'm just curious.
Huh.
There is, yeah.
There are?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. In both shows, there's black people.
I was just curious because I think back in those times,
I think it's just to make sure they're covered. I think.
I'm pretty sure.
Exactly.
It's like you gotta have one sprinkled in there.
Exactly.
Affirmative reaction.
But he's not in a wheelchair.
There we go. I'm out here just doing this Pop-Tart dance. These fucking legendary Pop-Tarts are so great. Power Project family, I hope you guys are doing well today. But I want to show you guys from Legendary Foods, we have the Tasty Pastry. Now, you know, these things are 20 grams of protein and 5 grams of net carbs. Sometimes you're dieting and you want to be able to have a good, tasty snack that doesn't taste like cardboard. Well, this baby, it's not even warmed up. Imagine if you warm up this freaking Tasty Pastry in a microwave for like 20 seconds. I got my coffee right here, Tasty Pastry. I'm living life, and you guys can too. Andrew, tell them about it.
Absolutely, yeah. So the other thing about this, so again, Nsima just mentioned 20 grams of carbs for a total of 180 calories for the whole thing, and the whole thing tastes amazing. If you guys haven't tried it, you need to right now. Head over to eatlegendary.com and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. They have those tasty pastries. They have all kinds of amazing flavored nut butters. They have almonds. They have all kinds of stuff, and you cannot help but laugh when you say nut butters.
Nut butters.
So yeah, you guys need to head over there right now. Eat Legendary Food, or eatlegendary.com. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
I agree. That whole deodorant thing is some real fuckery. Antiperspirant. Like, why would we think that there's not like a price to pay with like let me just prevent my body from sweating? Like that doesn't sound like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I literally like the color white shirt was never an option. Never, ever. And then once someone told me one day, like, dude, you just try not to get antiperspirant. And then I went to the grocery store and I was like 90% of these are all antiperspirant. Like, and no one ever even told me.
This isn't news to your girlfriend who's sitting over there, right? Like, she already knows you're gross. That's what I'm always thinking with my wife. I just look at her kind of disgusted, like, how is she into me? Like I'm gross, but she's disgusting if she's in. Like, that makes it even worse.
Staying with this, it's her problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Well, like our text threads, right? Like my wife, she knows my like whatever unlock code. Like she can have my phone whenever, but I'm also like, all right, you can look at whatever you want, but like the thread between me, Mark, and Nsima, like just like just be careful and like trust me, you like fell in love with the right person. Yeah, I'm not somebody different, I promise.
Yeah, you never know what we're talking about in there.
When you have a standard operating procedure about what happens when certain texts are read, that's that's fucking good.
Things are probably heading in the wrong direction.
But I mean, you gotta realize if Andy's with you, there's an equal reason, or she's equally disgusting in a way. There has to be something about her, right? And the same with Stephanie, and the same with my girl. I will not say anything about Zoe, as she's right there. But I mean,
everyone's gross.
We're savages.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh yeah.
And we believe what we want, right? Like for 18 years, girls didn't poop, right? Like when you were 19 is when you believed it. It was like Santa Claus. Well, no, maybe that took me a little too long to not remember that one.
My girl's proven that wrong in so many ways. She poops a lot.
Ooh,
all the time.
All the time.
Door open?
Yeah, we've gotten there. I started it.
I was going to say, that's you though.
This is the thing. I start the comfort thing. So I will be the one to fart.
Yeah.
I will be the one to
think that
open
we need
the
to get
door
rid of doors.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
Barricades. You know?
Nsima's
Public bathroom or not. Public bathroom or not, you know?
Nsima has pooped here at ST with the door open as I walked in.
I have. It has happened. But
and it's just like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
There he
I'm
is.
doing something that I do every day. I have to do it every day.
But the thing is, it's tactical because it makes everyone extremely comfortable with each other. If you can see someone poop and not care, I mean, what else?
Yeah, then you're on to that next level, right?
Exactly.
But like, you don't just stare though, like, right? Like you
You
don't
talk,
like,
you have conversation.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Ryan, do you get into like the whole hippie thing? Like, do you go as far to like try to get rid of like parabens in your like soap and like have you gone down that rabbit hole of getting weird deodorant and smelling like a hippie?
I actually tried the salt stick, which is apparently what we're all supposed to use. Is just the regular salt stick. Have you guys ever seen this before?
I've never even heard of it.
Let's find this.
So this is like the original way you're actually supposed to like use like anti kind of smelling type of things for your armpits and stuff. And I have a lot of friends that do really, really well with it, but for some reason that just doesn't work for me. And then like, I don't know if it was on the air or not, but basically for me, it took me until I was like maybe 25. I'm 35 now, where I was like, man, I just like, my armpits sweat no matter what. Like all my shirts are fucked. Like you'd literally be like encrusted to the point where it's like, you know, it's terrible. Like a 16-year-old boy's like bath towel from after he found out how to jerk off.
If people will stiff.
Let's go.
You break it in half.
It like looks like it went through the Civil War.
Oh, fuck.
People will go as far to go to the doctor, you know, for their like smelly armpits or whatever. Their armpits making their clothes yellow, and then they'll get like prescription. They'll get like an RX for it. And it's probably a little bit like the shoe thing. You know, you get into the shoe thing, the feet thing, and it's like we put all these cushions underneath our feet, and maybe one of the best things for us is to hardly have shoes at all.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that we're probably not really meant to really be having like all these beauty products on our body 100%. I'm sure that we like have adaptations in our body just like we do with muscles and stuff like that, where we're, you know, our body's like, all right, well, we're going to get this. And
I'm just wearing a little bit of foundation today. Just so you know, it's not much.
Dude,
Well, he thought you were in your 30s.
I know. That's because of the makeup.
And he's a beautiful man.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
And I thought you were in your 20s. Like, holy shit.
Dude, I will take that all day long.
Yeah.
Apparently, men's makeup is actually going to be like the next frontier right now.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
HRT is like the first part of male,
Right.
you know, it's our breast
Yeah.
implant.
Not bad.
Yep.
You know, so
I'm down with
I know
that.
some guys that are getting Botox.
I'll need to like learn. I don't know what I don't know what I'm doing brushing my teeth. So
We're going to be so late if we all start putting on makeup.
yeah.
Before we continue, have you tried this yet?
I have not.
Oh, there
I
you
have
go.
been looking at it
Hey.
for a while. What exactly is this?
Mark,
Got
would
some-
you like
That's stuff.
We have some Kratom. It's this is my product, Mind Bullet, and this just puts you in a good mood.
Yeah,
You won't be
Fire
high.
some up.
I took the slow release
You'll
stuff.
be a little
Even
high.
if we got high, I'd be down.
Oh, how was the slow release?
So
Because I
I-
haven't taken it before sleep.
My dumb ass, I saw them and I saw slow release and I thought they were chewables. They're not. So it tasted tasted not as bad as what you just had.
Yeah.
But it was
Didn't taste
fine.
good.
Yeah. And then also before I forget, I don't know exactly when this is going to come out and all that good stuff, but we're eventually at mindbullet.com. There's going to be a way to get like free samples of shit coming up very soon. So links in description. Just stay tuned to that shit. Just keep clicking until you see something.
Tastes disgusting, right?
It was kind of like a shot of tequila for sober people. It was like, no, I'm sober, I don't drink. All right, I got something for you. You know what I mean? How's your day now? Did it fuck you up?
It's like my day's worse now.
No, I think I'm going to be excited about this in a couple minutes.
What's going on with this mustache? Is this a newer thing?
I have a mustache?
Yeah, I think so.
Do I?
Wait, you didn't know you had a mustache?
I mean, I thought I just had facial hair.
Well, maybe it's a little
It's
bit
mainly
thicker.
just a mustache.
Fuck.
No, like no, he has
mustache.
the other stuff, but the mustache just looks thicker than everything else.
Well, it's not connected, so it's a mustache.
Oh, yeah, so I don't grow hair in that place there.
So you have a mustache.
Yeah, fuck me.
But okay, no, because I know the feels. It looks good though. The look isn't bad. The look isn't bad because some guys they don't connect and it just you can tell like there's problems. I didn't notice you didn't connect.
Like
you look good
domestic
that
problems. Like this guy and his girlfriend they poop together with the door open. They don't wear deodorant.
He thinks he has a full beard.
It works well, bro. Works well.
Yeah. It's never really grown there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's weird. I could grow out hair on my neck really impressively. That's my genetics.
Just the neck.
Yeah, just the neck. I can grow out some really sick.
So you have
neck
like no pubic hair, but a lot of hair on your balls.
Yeah, exactly. You've been there before. You've seen pictures. It's horrible, but like I could grow a pretty good mustache. We saw the mustache a while back. But when I try to grow a beard, it just grows mainly on my neck. I'm like, that's disgusting.
It's amazing what happens when you have a mustache. It has its own superpower.
How so?
Like when you go to the grocery store, like you just look around and things are different. You know what I mean? Like even the person at the register is like,
because everyone else is acting different.
You know?
Yeah.
And you get like a different set of women hit on you.
What are those set of women? I'm curious.
They're not good ones. I had to take a pee.
So
once was a time.
Because they think you're a perv automatically, right?
Oh yeah, and they're into it. They're into it. You know what I mean? I think it's called OnlyFans now.
So they
only mustaches.
So if you have a mustache, then they know that you're on OnlyFans.
Yeah, or they know that like they can do something weird with you that they've been like thinking about for a while, and like that's the guy.
That's the guy. That makes a lot of sense. When I do see men with mustaches or women, but when I see men with mustaches, I'm like, there's something odd going on. Typically, it's like never normal, but that's weird.
Yeah,
people with mustaches don't suck.
They don't suck.
Yeah,
they're great people.
Yeah, immediately you already know you're gonna have a connection.
It's funny how like once you grow a mustache, then you're thrown into that category. Like, if somebody's first time seeing a mustache,
it's like herpes. You got a mustache, you got that shit forever.
You can't explain it. You can't explain it to people. It's like, I only have this for like a month. You know, it's just a little phase I'm going through.
Oh man,
need like mustache isn't temporarily inflamed at the moment.
You need like a
fucking sweating right now, bro.
Me too.
You can take your shirt off. It's one of these kind of places.
That's true.
We've done that once.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't done it more than once.
Me too. Actually, no, we've done it twice. Episode 500, and then the one with Nikki Rodriguez.
Episode 1000. I mean, you know,
episode 1000. Our shirts
Get
coming
the
off,
titties
and we're
out.
smoking on air.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Come for the comedy, stay for the shirts off.
There we go.
I like that slogan. Sounds catchy.
Change
I
everything.
love how we've
Whenever
gotten.
you guys want to take them off, I'll pop the top.
There is so much to talk about with this dude, and we haven't gotten to any of it yet.
All right.
Well, I want to know why he's so jacked.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Honestly, you know when people are jacked and you're just like, I just don't really feel all that jacked? I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, you despicable man. You know what I mean? Like, put your mustache back on.
When did the body dysmorphia start for you?
Honestly, I probably started working out when I was like 12.
Yeah.
I was really lucky. Like, I grew up in a little town in New Jersey called Tom's River.
Oh, that's where I go on vacation. I'm going there in July.
No way.
Or August. In August, yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up there.
I hang out on the Jersey Shore, believe it or not. That's my vacation. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, that's where people go with mustaches.
That's right.
They go to the creepy places.
Tom's River has an amazing baseball team, right?
Oh, yeah. Tom's River High School East Little League World Champions.
Yep.
Oh, I went to school with the Little League World Champion guys.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I'm that old.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up in New Jersey, and I was lucky enough to, when I was like 12 or 13, I went into the gym. My friend's parents owned the gym, so I got to go when I was like 12, and everyone else got to go when I was like 16. Oh, wow. Okay. And I remember going into the gym, and I remember seeing this guy. His name was Pavle, and he would, like, I would go in, I would see him doing like power cleans sometimes. It's a bodybuilding gym. There's no platform, just none of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'd see him like doing the power clean, which I thought just looked insane at the time. And then I saw him do like box jumps with dumbbells in his hands and like all these crazy things. And he was the first person I saw who like kind of had arms like Mark right now, or like his veins were popping out. Like everybody else just looked normal. And then this guy just looked like a, you know, like, man, like he was like made in like a lab type of thing.
Maybe he was.
Actually, he did fail his drug test later on when I get to this. But anyway, come to find out, he was on the Olympic bobsled team. And, you know, he would go there and train for like the summer or whatever it was, and he'd go back to Utah or New York in Olympic training centers, and he would train for the Olympics. And I remember like going over to him and just talking to him as a young kid, and I was just like, "Hey man, like, you think you can like help me?" And he was always so nice. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like my first introduction to like lifting and understanding different things. It took me a while to like really get straightened out. You know, when you're younger, the only thing that matters is bicep curls and bench press.
Yeah.
I mean, I've took it as far as to like figure out that decline bench was stronger than all my other benches, so I would just decline bench every single day.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You know what I mean? Like the things you learned back then.
Yep, keep hyping up those strengths, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you're so young, it doesn't even matter. Like you could, you know, you jerk off and your forearm gets bigger. So like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. People, you can come over to me and be like, you know, you're doing everything wrong, and I'd be like, well, motherfucker, the mirror says no. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was like kind of like my first kind of start to like understanding like I want to get bigger and like seeing other people that I was like admiring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We just went from like so many jokes to so serious.
It really changed, didn't it?
Well, did you also play sports or?
Yeah. So like a full life story there. We got like from there, I actually, you know, what's really crazy is I wound up moving to Utah later on. And I trained on the Olympic bobsled and skeleton team for 5 years.
How old were you?
At that time, I had just graduated college in 2010.
Dude, what the fuck is skeleton?
Skeleton's head first down the bobsled track.
No, come on. That's not a real thing.
Yes, I mean, that was kind of how I started. A lot of people don't realize, like right after school, when I graduated high school, my first thing I did was I moved to Hawaii and I was a helicopter pilot. That was my first thing that I did. And then when I was in school, I met this kid named Eric, and he was an All-American for West Point, and he was also an All-American in high school as a football player. And I saw him in my dorm, and he was the second person I'd ever seen who looked like a lab person. Like he just looked insane. And he was like, "Hey man, you want to go to the gym with me?" And I was like, "I do, but like not with you. Like you look like, you know, like you're like my goal. So like being around you just makes me feel insecure." So I don't know. Either way, he just like, "Oh man, just come." You know. So we started working out together, and come to find out, like I was just naturally super strong. And like I was within 6 months of training with him, an All-American, I was as strong as he was.
Yeah.
And then, you know, because he was a football player, we pulled out the timing eyes and all the different things, and I was running a 4.40. I mean, I was just like a crazy freak athlete without ever really knowing any of those things.
Holy shit.
And then and like with laser too. I mean, I was actually really fast.
Yeah.
And then
You have to be to make a bobsled team.
Yeah, you also have to be big. So that was like part of my story here at some point. But like after, you know, all this training with him, he was like, "You really should play on the football team." And I was like, I don't like know if I want to play on the football team. Like, I'm like, you know, want to go in the military to fly and all this stuff. And then I wound up just like one day, I see a flyer from the Verizon phone company, and I'm living in Hawaii at the time. And it says like, "Hey, we're looking for athletes for the Olympics and all this stuff." And it said skeleton and bobsled. And I thought about that guy Pavle from when I was like 12. And I was like, oh, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
You know, so I went and did this testing. It was like a back squat, a power clean, like, you know, running through the timing eyes, all that stuff. There was like an underhand ball toss, like a bunch of like crazy, like little combine stuff. And I got like third in the nation on it.
Damn.
And then they're like, "You should come to Utah and like see if you like this whole sledding thing. You know what I mean? We'll chuck you down the track, see if you die or whatever." And then, you know, I went down and I went there and I told all my friends when I came back, "Hey guys, like I'm going to go train for the Olympics." And they're like, "What?" I mean, these are all friends that I was like smoking weed with every day.
Yeah.
And, like, you know,
They're like, "In what?"
yeah, you know what I mean? Like they didn't understand. Like you're going to go from Hawaii to Utah. You're not going to like that. And then secondly, like that's not you, is it? And I was like, I mean, like in my mind, I was always like a super dedicated person. Like when I was younger, I begged my mom to be in the military academy. I was like, "Mom, I just like want to be fucking insane. You know what I mean? Like, I love the regimented style.
Like a military school?
Yeah, I wanted to go to military school so bad.
Do you like rules in that way? Because like I would hate that. So why do you like that? That's my question.
I love things that nobody else wants to do. And then as soon as they don't want to do it, like I'm like getting off on it. Like I'm just like, I love that you don't want to do it. And it makes me want to do it that much more.
You're psychotic. It's awesome.
That's great.
Actually,
shit.
one of the things I really like about Mark was like,
Yeah.
I remember like I loved the documentary, you know, that your brother made. And it was like, I remember when you were like, you should be as strong as possible. And he was like, no excuse to be as strong as possible. And it was like, I know you have a different mindset now, probably but probably not. Like, you know, like you should have the best business ever. And like, there's no excuse not to. And then whatever you're doing now, you should be the best at it possible. And there's no excuse not to. And I just love that because like I don't really know you that well, but I'm assuming that you still have that mindset. And like anybody else that wants to come in and challenge it, you're like, wait till you see what I do next. And I love that. I just think it's such a fucking savage mindset. And I just feel like that's like what we're lacking. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the next thing is going to be male fucking makeup. And meanwhile, like, I want to eat people. You know what I mean? Like, I already know that I'm going to be more successful than you.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Who would you eat? Because I think Nsima, like, he might not taste that good because he's too lean. Like, you gotta find somebody.
You need some fatty meat.
But he is natural, so you don't get the hormones, right? With me, I wouldn't. My meat, like, I think it would be tough.
You'd be rancid.
And yeah, the fat would be like all like coagulated in there and stuff. Like, it wouldn't be good.
I just feel like anyone who's like soft and like wants to bring you down, like any kind of negative vibe,
They would taste good.
You know what I'm saying? I just like I would like to eat them because I know that they're a pussy. You know what I'm saying? So like
They would be in the organic grass-fed section of the grocery store.
But okay, so you like to do real quick. You like to do things that other people are like, no, fuck that. I don't want to do that. Is that the main reason, or because the military school thing? Did you actually like that specifically? Like, did you like that, or was the reason you like it because other people didn't? And generally, is that kind of what goes off in your mind too?
I think it's interesting, and this might be the first time I've ever actually thought of it this way. But like when I grew up in a house of 5 brothers and sisters, and I was the youngest, and then my brothers and sisters were like always way older than me, and they had a lot more going on. And like my one brother, you know, I mean, they were all pretty bad kids. And like as a young kid, you look up to your brothers and sisters. But for me, it was like I want to do the exact opposite of what they're doing. I didn't like what they were doing, and I wasn't even really smart enough to understand that what they were doing wasn't good. But I just knew it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And I remember like when I was very, very young, I got like my first bicycle. And I used to ride my bike, what would be equivalent to like a 30-minute car ride away from my house. And I'd get a flat tire and hit up my mom and be like, hey, mom, I'm like in this town. I got a flat tire. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, you're 12. Like, how'd you ride your bike that far? And it was just like, to me, it was like, you know, I don't know. I would get on my bike and I would just feel like, you know, like I just never really wanted to be home. My mom will hate to hear that. Mom, I'm so sorry. I don't mean it that way. But it's like, you know, I would tell my mom, like all the time when I was younger, I was like, Mom, I'm going to do something so cool. I don't even know what it is, but it's going to be fucking awesome. Like all the time. And my mom, because of that, my mom like always let me, like, it didn't matter how insane my dreams were. She always supported them. But I feel like my other brothers and sisters, if they had a dream like that, she probably wouldn't support it. Like to me, my mom is all time. Like she's the best. And then on top of that, you know, I didn't actually meet my dad for the first time until I was 24. Found out who he was when I was 18, met him when I was 24. And then when I met him, it's insane because, you know, I grew up with these 5 brothers and sisters that were so much different than I was. I liked sports. They didn't. I wanted to be regimented. They weren't. Everything I was like looking for in life was like the complete opposite. And then when I met this guy when I was 24, we were the exact human being to a T. Like, we grew up playing the same sports. We both wound up owning our own business. We both moved away from home at like the same age. Like all of the things that you could ever line up were like exactly the same. And I had never met him or even knew about him for like my entire life. So like, I feel like, you know, and we all have like these genetic traits of things that we really want to follow. And I feel like they're like deep in there. And I always tell people all the time too, because everyone's like, you know, like in the entrepreneur space, especially for you, I'm sure you have a lot of people that are like, hey, Mark, how'd you find your niche? Like, how did all this work? And it's like, well, fuck, it was there the whole time. I just didn't know it was there. It was like this one, I kept wanting it to be this other thing, but it was this the whole time. You know what I mean? Like for you, like you wanted to be the strongest person on earth, but like you probably liked training more than you wanted to be the strongest person on earth. You probably liked being in the gym with like your camaraderie and all that stuff. And like you created.
I liked other sports.
Yeah, and you created products around it.
Right. I liked other sports, and then lifting was just always sitting there. It was just like, hey, like, come back, you know, that this is the right spot, you know, and that happened like 3 or 4 different times. And then finally it was like, all right, well, I'll just be full-time power lifter.
Yeah.
And I just accepted it. It kind of felt like in some weird way that it chose me in some way.
Uh-huh. And I really feel like a lot of people right now, they're struggling, and it's like, what you really love to do is it's staring right at you, and you just don't know how to apply it yet.
Mm-hmm. How did things go with the bobsled team? Because you said you did that for 5 years. Did you go to the Olympics?
So I was on the Olympic training team for the whole 5 years. The year of the Olympics, I actually like tore my hamstring. So we have 3 sleds that go.
That's what I was thinking right away. A hammy. How much does a sled weigh? Like 500 pounds or something, right?
Yeah, the sled weighs a lot. So like for me, I was always a smaller guy. I'm only 5'5", but at the time I weighed like 170 pounds. So I did skeleton for like the first 3 years, which is by yourself head first. And I always wanted to be a bobsledder.
That sounds so scary.
I was never big enough for bobsled. But as I get more and more into training, as I first started on the team, I kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually I went from 170 to like 185. And then as I go down the track, like the coaches would always look at your body, and like if your body's jiggling, like your butt's jiggling, like everything's like kind of moving around, they can kind of see that you're really relaxed. That's a good driver. So I would come off the top, one of the fastest starts in the world, and then I would lose it all down the track just because like I wasn't like a good driver, you know, I didn't have great aerodynamics. And I remember like there was a point where the coach was like, dude, it doesn't really matter how fast you get on that start. You can have the fastest one in the world, but like you're just not super aerodynamic and nothing jiggles on you. So he's like,
you're built like SpongeBob SquarePants.
Literally, right? So he's like, why don't you try doing bobsled? You got to put on like, you got to get up to 200 pounds though. And I was like, fuck me, 200 pounds, bro.
That's pretty big.
It was so big, you know? And I actually got up to 208 pounds.
Shit.
And how I did at the time actually was I would go to Whole Foods, and right before they would close, I'd go in like 5 minutes before they close every day, and I'd ask for a full pizza, and I'd ask for like a discount. I'd be like, hey, can I get a discount on the pizza? And they'd sell me a whole pizza for $5.
Wait, did they hate you because you got there right before they closed? They didn't.
No, I had this like really cool guy who every time he was like, it was a Jamaican dude. And like every time he'd be like, hey, you want the pizza? And I'm like, yeah. And like every night I just crushed a pizza. And then eventually I got big enough. Like I had no cardio, obviously, but I could just sprint like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And on a 4-man bobsled team, I was the second person. So you have the driver, then you have the second guy, and then the last 2. And essentially they put each person in depending on like, you know, how powerful you are. So my like 0 to 15 meters was like 1.9 seconds, which was like super, super fast. And then I still was good at the 30 and the 60 meter mark for our timing splits, but not as fast as the other guys. So like the brakeman actually is like the fastest guy for like probably like a 100-meter sprinter.
Yeah.
Like I met the Jamaican bobsled team like from like the movie Cool Runnings. Like I met those guys and all that
those
stuff.
Specific dudes?
Not the specific ones, but like the guys who train like for that and everything.
Yeah.
It was like really super cool. Like
that's sick. It
was like my childhood dreams were just like unfolding so many times. I got to see the guy Pavle, I got to see the Jamaican bobsled team, and I loved the movie Cool Runnings. And I just got to be in like this really cool just community of people that is just like a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
It definitely put my life on hold for a little bit. Those 4 or 5 years of training was like something that, I mean, I was a machine at the time. Like all I cared about was training and eating and sleeping and recovering and all that stuff. And like,
you got paid well for this? Because I'm
hell no.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, we got made no money.
That's why I got the $5 pizza.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have any money. And like, you know, I had to try to look for sponsorships and all these things. It's tough. Like anybody who's an Olympian in America in a sport that's not super popular, like if you're not like Shaun White or like Michael Phelps or like you know, these people who are like, it's a sport that people really want to watch in the Olympics. Like people like watching bobsled in the Olympics, but they don't give a fuck about it for like 4 years.
Yeah.
So you just don't make any money. I think like the top tier guys make like $800 a month. But then like in Europe, they give you like $100,000 contracts. You get an Audi or a BMW, like whatever, you know.
I'm just trying to think like how you'd even like draw attention to that sport. Like people have a helmet on. You can't really see them.
Tough.
There's a bunch of people in the sled. There's like 6 people in the bobsled or something, right?
4.
Oh, 4 people. Yeah. So it's like, you know, in the NBA or NFL, they do really good job of like focusing in on some of the marquee players, and then they just hype those guys up. And you hear so much about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that, and it gets people fired up to watch. But in that case, plus there's no understanding of it, right? Like no one knows what the fuck's going on. You're just watching this people go down a hill, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you adapt to the cold, like, or did you not really care just because of your mindset? You're just like, I just want to do the best, and I'll be good at this, so fuck it, I'll just go do it.
I mean, living in the cold was not my favorite. But then, like, actually, I don't think a lot of people realize this. The suits that people are wearing when they're doing bobsled, it's a swimsuit. Like, it's the same swimsuit that like Michael Phelps wears when he breaks records. It's
like just
it's literally made by Speedo, and it's literally what you wear when you go in the pool.
So it doesn't help with the fucking temperature outside.
You're literally naked.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, you know what I mean? Like it's
What about shrinkage?
Oh, dude. So I mean,
Just
I mean,
a
a lot
button.
of us actually at the time. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but fuck it, it's been a while now. We would all take like Viagra because it was a vasodilator, and especially like at elevation, it's supposed to increase your.
Is it a banned substance?
I don't think it was. No, it wasn't at the time. I think if you misused it, it was frowned upon. But you know,
So you guys would have some serious wood while you're pushing the sled.
it was a sword fight up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, I mean, obviously you still gotta be attracted or something like that for that shit to work. But like either way, I just thought that was a funny joke. But that was the reality. A lot of us were doing that and kind of helping with the push and all that stuff. But
Wow.
Explain to us a little bit, because we get on this topic a lot, and it's part of the fitness culture, this whole natty or not thing. Just explain to us how freaky some of the people are that you ran into, that you encountered. Now, all you know is what you do and what you don't do, but you can't really speak for anybody else on what they do and don't do. But I'd imagine being part of the Olympics, you've probably seen some just shit that you just can't even explain, right?
yeah, I mean, I think your Reuters documentary is really good, where it's like, you know, there's a lot of people doing it and they don't talk about it, or, you know, you have a family to support or whatever, like, what are you going to do? And stuff like that. And I remember, I mean, fuck, dude, like, you're so bored. You're like in these mountain towns and like, it's just you and a bunch of bros in your Olympic training center. And like, there's like, after you train and you eat, like, there's like nothing else to do. Like, people are literally just researching like ways you can cheat, you know, like, what can I do to cheat? Like, if I take that, how long is it going to last in my system for, and all this stuff? You know, for me, I always was like, I never really wanted to do anything in that realm because like my mom meant so much to me, and my mom was always like, Ryan, I don't ever want you to do those things. And so to me, it was really hard to do that and take the risk and like really let her down. So like I was always like really, really hesitant, but I had tons of friends who did all sorts of stuff. I watched a lot of people fail things. When you're in the events, like the world championship style events, like you see the guys from Europe, they're fucking massive. Like they're so big and like just so powerful. Like for how big they are, like, you know, these guys are jumping up doing backflips, you know, and like they're just so like, there's a lot of them were like gonna be in some sort of professional sport, like whether it's the NFL or like some other sport in Europe or whatever, and then they just like they don't make it in that sport, but they can run really fast and they can run straight. They don't need to cut or anything, and they're good to go.
But all these guys, whether they're doing stuff or not doing stuff, they're mutants, right? Like
Oh
you
my
probably
God.
run
Oh,
into
yeah,
people
yeah.
that are, you know, hopping up onto a table like this off of one foot and doing it fucking backwards.
And they were going to do that whether they did it or not. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really even matter. I mean, a lot of these guys just wanted to take it to the next level. You know what I mean? I almost feel like a lot of people who do that stuff, it's like, it's such a small... I mean, we all have friends that do that stuff, and you watch them do it, and they expect all this craziness to happen, and it doesn't. It's like, if you're a pussy, you're just going to be more of a pussy, kind of, but you're going to recover faster. But if you're a savage, you're probably going to be like 10% more savage.
From what would be your guess? Like from what you've seen in bobsled, and I guess from what you know, do you think it's a majority of people? Because some people think that in the Olympics or whatever sport, that a majority of people, especially power type sports like gymnastics, lifting, etc., they think a majority of people are on something. Would you say it's a majority, or would you say it's a minority from your purview?
I'd almost say it's like 50-50 maybe.
50-50?
I would say it's like probably 50-50.
Okay.
I mean, anything that's like, I would say like anything that's really like not detectable type of stuff. Like a lot of people would do like growth hormone or something like that, just because you got to get like a blood test essentially to get.
It's wild to me that that's not detectable. I don't know the science of it, but growth hormone?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But
Yeah, there's some things that are like harder to detect, and they have ways of testing like a lot more stuff nowadays. But it's all just really interesting because what I always say is like somebody is winning that isn't taking stuff, and they are beating people that are taking stuff. And on top of that, everyone in that pool has outstanding genetics. So, you know, you look at some of these football players and some of the people in the Olympics. You look at like Michael Phelps and but like who is another guy that's like winning like even if Michael Phelps was to fail a drug test and it's clear that he uses performance enhancing drugs or whoever it might be that's in question, there's still somebody somewhere. So what I think is interesting is we use the natty or not thing so often, and especially you're seeing a lot of people point the finger at Liver King. And I think it's really easy just to say, hey, he's doing stuff. But the reason why they say he's doing stuff or why they say others are doing stuff, just so it's like a get out of jail free card for themselves. So they don't have to put in the same amount of work, because I'll never look like that. If I did that, if I switched over to that, then everybody better look out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I like the way Louis Simmons looked at it, where he would say, you know, people who are doing stuff are training way harder than people who don't. I mean, I agree with that to some extent. Like, I mean, if you're doing it, it's probably because you're super, super dedicated. And then you know, we have friends who do stuff who don't really look all that much different, or you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I've never really frowned on anyone for any of that stuff. Like, especially like my time in CrossFit. A lot of people, you know, are always like accusing everybody for doing drugs, and for me, it was always like, I mean, have at it, bro. There's so many different things to do. Like, you need to be good at running, you need to be good at swimming, you need to be good at Olympic lifting, you need to be, you know, all these different things. So like, go ahead and go get as strong as possible. You go ahead and do that, and then I'll fucking run right past you a little bit later. You know what I mean? Like, and then even if they made it, you know, legal, I still feel like it wouldn't change things that much. I think it would in terms of recovery and all that stuff, and people be a lot stronger.
Yeah.
But like, as a full, well-rounded athlete, I still think a totally natural dude could totally win. Just like if they made it a really fair competition in terms of like every like true mastery of the sport.
Yeah, I think they already do.
Yeah.
Like, that's my point, is like somebody's natural. Like there's somebody that's like not, you know, like you can just run down a list of who you think is great, and not everybody is always on stuff. It just might seem like they are, because what they do is out of this world. What they do is unreal. And I'm a believer that there's a lot of people that are getting ahead without. And just like there's a lot of people that are getting ahead with.
Yeah.
For myself, at a young age, I think I was around 20 years old, I was able to get to about 205, 210 pounds or so. And I was around 8% body fat. And that was at 20 without the training knowledge that I have now. I don't know where I could have pushed it to. Could I have gained another 10 pounds? Could I have gained another 20 pounds over 10 years, 20 years? I probably could have gained at least 10 pounds, right? But that would kind of put me in that, you know, very questionable space. In your time in CrossFit, did you, or in your time of any of this stuff, because I'd imagine being part of the Olympic team and the CrossFit events that you participated in, I'm sure you've been tested before. Did you ever fail any tests? Or
I have failed a test, but it wasn't actually like a failed test.
Wasn't what they said. Wasn't.
It was no. Honestly, I mean, dude, I'll tell you guys anything. I don't give a fuck. Anybody who knows me is like, yeah, Ryan's raw. So like for me, like in my entire life, like you know, when I was younger, I used to like go to GNC and get so excited to buy all the pro hormones and stuff like that, like things that were borderline. I used to love like stuff like that.
That's the best.
I think it was
the
like
shit that's in the back,
like the T-bomb. You remember like all these like weird
it's in, like,
things?
little plastic thing.
It's in the glass case.
Halodrol 50 or whatever was like one of the Gaspari brands. Like I've taken that stuff, and throughout injuries of my athletic like pro career, during various different sports where I was competing at a very high level, I had take growth hormone before, and it was, to my knowledge, I was going to recover faster. And get back from the injury faster. It was never my intention to do it in terms of like, I'm going to use this to get a competitive edge. And then even if I did, it would be like I would run out of money by the time I recovered from my injury, and I couldn't even use it anymore at that point.
Expensive as fuck.
But to this day, I still have never taken any like true steroids. And now that I'm 35, I get my levels tested right now for testosterone every year, and I'm like strongly considering it. I've even told my girlfriend Zoe's over there. I'm like, I might do it. Like, I'm not really sure.
Amen. Good for you.
My levels are a little bit lower than like I'd like. Like,
what are they at?
They're 350.
Really?
Yeah. Would you consider that super low, or I mean?
You know, I'm actually
it's on a
curious.
lower
Though.
range. Yeah.
You are a high level entrepreneur. We're going to talk about your businesses and stuff, but it seems like you work a lot. Do you get a lot of sleep? Do you like? Are you even in all those things?
I don't think this guy gets a lot of sleep.
I wonder.
I think this guy's got to be careful with a cup of coffee, I think.
I'm a 6 to 7 hour guy.
Okay. Yeah.
I have my 8s here and there as well.
Yeah.
I would ask, like, have you tested your test like a long time ago? Like,
I think last year I was like 400. This year I was 350, and then the year before that, like 2 years ago, I was like probably 400 again. So I think I've always naturally had kind of like on the lower side.
But you feel good, right? Or do you not feel like
So that's I always ask my friends who take it now. I'm like, dude, like what would I feel like at 1,000? You know what I mean? Like, you know, is it that much different? And some of my friends are like, dude, totally. And then some of my other friends are like, I kind of wish I didn't do it.
Really?
Because like a lot of them, you know, in California, you know, once you take it, I feel like a lot of these older guys, they're just on forever, pretty much. It's like just TRT forever. So like that's the one thing about it for me that's kind of like deters me a little bit. I'm like, I just don't want to take it forever.
Yeah.
That's the one. I love to travel. I don't want to like deal with having it and all that stuff. So that's like one of the things. It's funny because everybody on social media, they look at me and they think like for sure this guy takes something.
Of course.
And I'm like, I look good, but I'm nothing crazy. You know what I mean? So like, I don't ever really go out of my way on social media to ever say that I'm natural or any of that stuff because I just don't feel like even arguing about it.
But your fitness level too, it's like you look great, but your fitness level, especially like I wanted us to talk about the CrossFit stuff, but you do a lot of things at a very high level. And that's when people are like, oh, he's just too good, right? So actually, after Bobsled, how long did it take you to get into CrossFit? And then what was that change for you? Because it's not like you were doing all those types of things that they have you get good at a CrossFit before it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, so I moved to Utah. I started training on the team. And then when the Olympic stuff was all over, my goal was to just go back into the military and kind of go be a pilot and stuff. So, but at this point in time, I'm like, shoot, man, like I'm an athlete. Like, fuck, I'm like, you know, I love working out and I like the camaraderie of the guys and all that stuff. I was like, I can always be a pilot. Why don't I go into the military and do something really fucking cool? Like I like the Regimen and all that stuff that we were talking about. And like, I want to eat people, right? So like, I'm like, I'm gonna go be a fucking SEAL. Why not?
Yeah.
So I trained really, really hard. I swam a lot. I like my training changed a ton. And then all my friends were like, you should go do CrossFit. And I was like, what's that? You know, and then like basically I, you know, went and checked it out and I went and did like my first class. And I remember just being like, wow, this is super cool. And then the owner of the gym came over and he's like, you know, the time you just got on that workout is pretty impressive. And I'm like, what's impressive? And he like points to like a leaderboard, like they have it all written in the gym. And like I got like the best time in the gym like ever. And then I was like, oh, like how good is that? And he's like, well, the person up there that you just beat is me basically. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, I just got second place at the World Championships this year. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, you need to stay here and train. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to go in the military and all this stuff. And you know, they told me how much it was. It was so expensive to me as a young kid. And I just was like, fuck, like I can't afford this.
How old were you, by the way?
Man, 2010. Okay. So yeah. Or
23.
2000. My first CrossFit regional was 2011. So 2010. So whatever I am now, 35 minus the years we're in.
Yeah.
2021, 2022. So yeah. Then that's how I got originally into it. And he's like, dude, I won't even charge you. You just come and train with me. I just need a training partner and we'll just work out together and we'll just make it rain. So then we just did it. And then I got really good, really fast. And I remember it was kind of funny. I was like, I got so good so fast and I just was like so bad at certain things because I just didn't really have the time.
Yeah.
But the things that I was good at, I was so good at. And like, I remember like beating like Rich Froning's times on workouts and all these things. And I would like, I wasn't real big on social media or anything, but I would just post on Facebook, like I just got this time on a workout and people would just be like, fuck. And then they would just kind of like lead from one thing to another. Like CrossFit was like, hey, we have a new dark horse, like, you know, living in Utah and like all this stuff. And then eventually, like I would just go to events and do really well. It was interesting. Like every time I'd go to a regional event, I would like do so well in like all these events. And then like one thing I would just get like last on because I just like didn't have the skill set.
It's like handstand shit or what was it?
Yeah, like the first one actually was a handstand. And then the next year after that was like a hang clean. It was weird. I'd never done a hang clean in my training. We always just did regular power cleans and like the thumb grip thing got me. And then just like stupid stuff like that, right? The year after that was when I threatened to kill a judge. We can get to that if you want. But then so essentially like all this was going on. I'm like I'm putting everything on hold. I want to win this CrossFit Games thing. And then it's funny, from there, I wound up moving to San Diego, California. I like got a job at a CrossFit gym off of Craigslist. And then I worked there for a little bit, and then I quit my job because I didn't like working at the gym. The lady told me I was going to be able to make the workouts and like do all this stuff.
CrossFit Invictus is down that way, and that's a pretty prominent.
And I used to go work out there actually once in a while. And essentially, at this point, when I quit my job, that was when like the true Ryan Fischer started to get built. So like for me, I quit my job, like I had about $5,000 saved. And after about 4 months, I had lost all my money and I had nothing. You guys are going to love this part of the story. So when I get here, I'm just like messaging everyone. I'm trying to get jobs and all these things are going on. And the gym that I'm working out at, it's the guys who own it is Brian Borstein and Anders Varner. And Anders Varner, I don't know, you probably met him before. He's he's like on Barbell Shrugged. So they invite me into their gym to like come work out. Basically, I told them I don't have any money and all these things. This is like 2 months prior, so I've been working out there for about 2 months. When I run out of all my money, I tell everyone I have to go back to New Jersey. I'm going to drive home. Like, you know, I'm going to go back to school or something. I just like, I have nothing. Meanwhile, no one at the gym knew that I had no money and that I was like broke as fuck. And to be completely honest, a lot of people know this about my social media. Like I would go to the grocery store and steal like food. Like I had nothing. Like, it was really, really bad. For like most of the time, like the last 2 months, like, I mean, I just was like, I would like cry myself to sleep. Just was like, I'm such a badass athlete. I have nothing to show for it. Like I hate what's going on right now in my life. It's such a shitty deal. And then when I told everyone I was leaving, Anders got some girl in the gym to like basically let me sleep on her couch for like, you know, until I got my life together. And I wound up sleeping on this girl's couch for 4 months, which was way longer than I wanted to, obviously. And dude, for 4 months, I slept in this girl's couch or like an inflatable mattress on the floor. I didn't know who she was. Like literally, I would forget her name sometimes. Like I literally just, no clue. She just, out of the goodness of her heart, helped me. And at this time, dude, like I'm still stealing food. All these different things happen. A lot of people don't know. I actually wound up getting arrested trying to steal presents for some of my friends for like holidays and stuff like that. I got like 1,500 hours community service. A lot of different things were just kind of going wrong. And throughout this time of being on the couch, you know, I wind up like putting myself into some online competition to go to one of the big CrossFit competitions. It was called the OC Throwdown in Orange County, which is where I live now. And I remember like doing these events online and I would do them barefoot because I only had one pair of shoes and I didn't want to ruin them. So like every time I'd work out, I'd just go barefoot. Yeah. And you know, in all the videos that I would have to submit, everyone would see this barefoot guy doing all these workouts. Jesus Christ. And he just looked like insane, right? I was always like really jacked, like especially from Bobsled, I was 210. And then now I'm like 180, 185, just shredded out of my mind. I don't have any money for food, so I'm not eating anything. So like I'm fucking shredded, you know? Everyone thinks I'm a freak show. And then eventually I make it to this competition called the OC Throwdown. And I go, and literally when I get there, it's all of the athletes that I'm watching on YouTube. Like I'm like starstruck. I'm like, holy fuck, I can't believe I'm here. And I didn't want to ruin it. And I got second place in this event. It beat people who were like on the podium with the CrossFit Games and all this stuff. And everyone's like, holy fuck, this guy's for real. And then I would literally just post shit all the time. I just beat everybody in the world in this workout. Like I just did this, I just did that, all these different things. And I'm like, and I'm doing all this thing. I'm doing all this while all you motherfuckers are doing cryo and you have all these sponsors and you're eating all this food. Like I'm eating fucking cockroaches and I'm sleeping on a air mattress. I'm sleeping like 3 hours a night. I'm stressed the fuck out. I have no fucking shoes. I don't have anything. I literally, the only thing I have is the passion in my heart and I'm just going to fucking destroy you with it. Yeah. And like when I was in the warm up area, I would look at people and just look straight through them and be like, I just want everyone in your family to die. Like, just like the only thing that matters is me winning this competition. And I think a lot of people misunderstood that because by the time 2013 happened, that was when I was in the best shape of my life. And I went to the CrossFit Regionals and I was going to go to the games that year. That was like my shining moment where I really wanted to, you know, finally everything was going to work out for me. You know what I mean? Like finally everything was going to come together. And I think I've always been such a passionate dude where it's like, I almost let my passion like get the best of me because like I remember they were judging me and they were like no rep on this event that I was for sure going to win. It was my favorite event of the comp.
Let's can you pull this up? How would he search for it?
You can just go to YouTube and type in Ryan Fischer no rep.
There you go.
And then I remember just telling the judge like, dude, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And it was like a 2-minute workout. You know, like emotions are high. Yeah. You know, energy's high, and stakes are high. right? Like if I don't go to the games, then it's like a whole nother year of training. And like, you know, I keep putting my life on hold. I want to be a pilot. I want to do this. I want to do all these things. And I'm putting it all on hold just to, you know, be able to do well in this competition. And actually you'll be able to see me here in this video, just like freaking out, like so mad because I was going to win.
Jesus, your fucking legs.
It looked like you were already kind of yelling at him there.
Yeah. So if you actually watch, like I'm not doing anything wrong.
You're locking out those deadlifts.
My arms never bend or anything. And you'll see a point where the guy judging, he's not even looking at me. Like he'll start looking at the other guy and no repping me without, like right now he didn't even look at that last.
Wait, so this is just deadlifts that you're supposed to do?
Yeah, so it's 21 reps. So it's 21, 15, 9 of 315 deadlifts and box jumps. And I'm doing like, you know, 27, 25, like way more reps than everybody else. And because of it, it's just like, so like right here, you can see me getting really upset. And to me, you guys are hearing my story now. Like I don't have anything. I'm getting arrested, like, and all these things. And that's what I see in my mind in this moment. I'm like, dude, my whole life is for this event right here. And you guys are taking it from me. And did I react incorrectly? Yeah. I think I probably went a little overboard. I feel like my actions, like I still feel like I was in the right in terms of what was going on, like judgment wise. But my reactions were obviously just really bad. But at the same time, you know, that next day they pulled me aside and they videoed this whole fucking thing.
Yeah,
and
there's some footage of that too.
Yeah, and it's like Dave Castro just being like, you know, he basically like humiliates me in front of everyone. It's like really, really bad. And I don't think he understood in that moment like how much all this stuff meant to me.
Yeah.
And to take it one step further, it's like I go to open a gym a year after this that literally revolves around the sport that hates me. Like you can't like love, you know, it's almost like, you know, a girl, like you cheat on your girlfriend or whatever and she still loves you or like whatever, like everything just comes together. Like for me, it was like, I wasn't trying to do anything like really truly bad. Like I was so passionate about what I was doing to the point where even as much as I hated what happened there and it felt like to me like my whole life was ruined, I still opened a gym for the sport that still kind of hated me. And to me it was because like that's what I'm passionate about. And I think a lot of people now, back then it was like, oh, that's like Johnny McEnroe of CrossFit, you know, he's a fucking maniac. But now it's kind of like, dude, I remember like that guy, like he's just like, yeah, he's like all in on everything. Like if he's in, he's in, you know what I mean? Like if he's gonna make programming, then I'm gonna follow it. Like, because that's how I am about it. And when I look back now, I think that was probably like step one that was needed for me to start refocusing my energy at a different thing, which now is business.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, fuck, you know, like if I had went to the CrossFit Games, I probably would have kept competing. I would have kept beating my body up. I would have loved every second of it, but I know I would not have what I have today in terms of like a business and a career and all that stuff. And deep down inside, for me, I wanted all of that accomplishment as a prerequisite to tell people that you can listen to me and believe me. For me, it would be like Mark being like, I can't own the Slingshot brand without having squatted 1,000 pounds. But like, he doesn't need to squat 1,000 pounds. He could have probably squatted 800 and still had Slingshot and it'd still be pretty fucking awesome. So, but for me, it was like, I really thought I needed it. I genuinely was like, this is the only way people are going to listen to me. But I didn't need it, you know? And I look back now and it's just like, I'm happy the way things turned out, like in certain aspects. I wish I would have maybe put my sights on business a little bit sooner. But man, I appreciate so much more like what I have now. And like everything that happened is just like, it's so much sweeter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you frustrated in some way to be known in CrossFit kind of as a guy that, you know, blew up at a ref instead of like being known more as an athlete? I saw some back and forth between Matt Frazier and I can't remember.
Josh Bridges?
Josh Bridges, yeah.
I never actually saw that, but I heard that they actually spoke well about me is what I heard.
Neither guy said anything directly negative, but they're like, all I know of him is like that no rep thing. Yeah. That's all they know.
Honestly, I'll take any publicity.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it's bad, if it's good, whatever, it's like, at least they remember me. But I mean, obviously some people might say that that's like a shitty way to look at it, but it's like, you know, if I'm not going to win the CrossFit Games, I'm going to go down as the motherfucker who tried real hard. You know what I mean? And I'm cool with that rather than getting like fourth.
You probably also have one of the more successful businesses of anyone in CrossFit, even though you didn't win the games.
Yeah, which I think is cool too. And, you know, it's just funny now to look back and it's like, of all of the hits that you can take, people say like, oh, I started this from zero and I did this and I did that. And it's like, dude, I really started from zero. And then you can go to zero and you can just go ahead and subtract like another 50%. Like I was below. Like I started a gym when everybody hated me. I started, you know, I stole things. I lost everything. I was fucking way down.
Yeah.
You can't make me unhappy. It's impossible, dude. Like I wake up and I'm like, this is fucking sick every day. I love it so much. And anybody who knows me, like I always try to tell people like my one thing for everyone in life in general, like if I had to give you just advice on anything, like people are always like, oh, what's your one thing you tell like all younger people or this or that? I'm like, just be fucking unforgettable. Bring so much energy into the room that you're such a contagious fucking force. Like you are the COVID of fucking energy. You know what I mean? And people are just like I would genuinely be upset if I left here and people are like, oh, how was the Ryan Fischer guy? He's like, oh, he was cool. Like, I want you to be like, dude, he was fucking dope.
Yeah.
And that's my goal is just be just be that, because like, you know, opportunities will never be limited in your life if people like you.
Did you ever apologize to that ref, or did you ever feel there was anything necessary to apologize about?
Actually, he apologized to me. Reverse.
Okay.
I actually opened my gym and he asked to come to the first anniversary party.
Yeah.
And he came and apologized.
So that probably felt pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he even said, you know, like it really wasn't like my call, kind of. It was kind of like it was a weird thing where it was like, you know, the head judge told me to kind of say no and blah, blah, blah. And I did that. And I'm not calling it like a conspiracy type by any means. And like, you should listen to the head judge. But he's just like, you know, like I didn't feel great about it.
Yeah. Okay. I actually am just curious though, the explanation for why those reps were wrong. Because when you watch it, they look like full reps of a deadlift. Why were they wrong in that instance?
They say that I'm bouncing it.
Oh, bouncing weight off the ground, perhaps.
Yeah. So interestingly enough,
but
like
it's bumper plates.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, we had never used competition plates in a competition until this year. So we're all used to having rubber plates, which really do bounce a lot.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah. The weird thing though is if you watch everybody else in my heat, I swear to God, I'm like one of the least bouncy type of guys here. And in my own defense, I have, at this point in time, I am the strongest CrossFitter in the world, pound for pound. Like, I had a 650-pound deadlift at this point, and everybody else, maybe max, had 500-pound deadlift.
Yeah.
That to me was like a toy, so I'm just trying to go fast. And to be honest, the 30-pound box jump to me is like a 2-story motherfucking building. So I'm just trying to get that shit done so I can go do the box jumps.
Yeah. How did you manage to, like, you know, at this point, you weren't making much money, and then a year later, you open a gym. How did that work? Like, what did you do to be able to do that?
Yeah, so I actually was training a client who just basically seemed like just another client. You never really know who you're talking to. And, you know, he basically made the operating software for MySpace. He was worth a lot of money. And he would always ask me, you know, what do you want to do with your life and stuff? And I was like, man, I just want to be in fitness. He's like, what do you think about opening a gym? And I'm like, way too many around. I was like, but if I did, I'd want it to be like $1 million gym where you came in and you're like, fuck, this is nice. I'm like, I don't understand why all these CrossFit gyms always look like shit. And they always like start in someone's garage and eventually go to like another bigger piece of shit looking thing. I'm like, but then there's like, you know, there's Barry's Boot Camp and they all look really nice. And then there's Orange Theory and they all look really nice. Like I didn't know shit about business, but I was like, you know what I mean? Like, why would I start a gym with 2 rowers and 2 bikes and 2 barbells and all this stuff and eventually, you know, wait to get enough people where I need 3 and where I need 4 and where I need 5? I was like, I would start with 10 of everything and then I would have all the nicest shit and then people would come. It didn't really seem that hard to me. I was like, dude, if you give me $1 million, I will give it back to you. So we opened a gym. I didn't even wind up needing $1 million. I needed like 350 grand maybe. And I think I paid him back like in 2 years. The crazy thing was, I think most people thought it was successful if you had if you had 100 members after 1 year. I opened the doors with 100 members on day 1. And then by the end of the first year, I had 300 members. And I knew fucking nothing about business.
How?
So Instagram was like getting bigger. And I remember just being like, I would just take photos of everything. I'd be like, hey guys, I just bought 30 grand worth of plates. I just bought this, just bought that. And this was fucked up, but I would hashtag every gym in town. So if you're on Instagram, you type in like, you know, CrossFit name of the town, then like all of a sudden my shit would pop up. And they'd be like, oh, there's a gym in town popping up that's like way nicer than mine. And people would be like, dude, it's kind of fucked up that you're tagging the gym. I'm like, well, it's kind of fucked up that you give your members a piece of shit equipment. So I just always had like that mentality of like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And then, you know, it became this really popular thing. And everything changed for me when some girl walked in one day and she's like, your workouts are amazing. Like, I travel for work. I go to different gyms. I've been to 100 different gyms just this year. And I've been to your gym like 3 times. And every time I'm so excited to come to your gym. I love the way you make workouts. I think you should put them online. And I was like, I don't really see the point of putting them online, because at the time, every CrossFit gym, you could just go to their website and the gym was on there for free. But I was so busy when I first opened my gym. A lot of people don't know this. I coached every class every day. We had 10 classes. I coached 5, 6, 7, like a 8, 15, 9, 15, a noon, 4, 5, 6, 7, and like 8 p.m. Like I coached like all these classes. And I did it every day for like a month. And then on the weekends, I would go to the park and I would clean up trash for 15 hours for my community service. I did this for 3 years. Holy shit. You can't, like, I mean, the amount of work ethic that I built during that time is just straight madness. And it was just like, I mean, me coaching all the classes lasted for about 2 or 3 months. But then the nonstop of cleaning up garbage and, you know, working 16, 17 hours a day, every single day, lasted for 3 years. And yeah, like that was just like, it was just a really, really, really tough time. I forgot where I was going with that, but that was like kind of like the work ethic part of the gym for in the beginning.
Andrew, see if you can bring up that shot of Castro, and then you can maybe walk us through kind of just let the audio play, and then we'll have him tell us what happened afterwards. Because this is pretty interesting. I think.
CrossFit doesn't fuck around, so well, hopefully we'll be okay.
Yeah. Make a bunch of noise over top of it.
Yeah, so that way they don't know that it's copyrighted.
I actually haven't seen this in years. I hate watching it.
Yesterday, this guy told the judge, I will fucking kill you. I'll tolerate that shit, man. Understand? I'm gonna give you one chance to stand in competition. Where are the judges? Judges, bring it in!
You can see in my eyes, I'm just like, do you have no clue what my fucking life is about right now, bro?
Yeah.
And you can see all the other athletes are like, yeah, he's getting it. Right? Yeah, I'm still just like, dude, I watched the video, it's fine.
Jason McDonald, you're assigned to judging at all points of the rest of the competition.
Hey, you can cut it. Did you apologize? Sound like you just had more stuff to say to him there.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry for saying I'll fucking kill you. Like, that was literally what I said. Yeah. That's what he wanted me to say, basically. And then it was just like, dude, I watched the video several times and it's totally fine. And then Castro's like, no, we're not talking about the video. And it's just like, dude.
That seems very unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like it's like
But they posted that on the CrossFit website, and that was when.
But that's the way CrossFit has been kind of run. It's been run that way from the beginning, you know. And they.
What way? Like what do you mean?
They'll just be pretty forceful. They'll kind of like run people out, you know.
Right.
They have kind of an aggressive tactic. Yeah. I mean, I kind of, in some ways, I got to admit, I kind of agree with what he did there. Like, let's not have anybody fucking threaten anybody. You know, I actually would have just probably asked you to leave. I'd been like, you're done from the competition.
Yeah.
You come back another day maybe, but we can't have anybody do that.
I agree. To be completely fair, during the moment, I actually didn't even know I said that. To this day, I don't remember saying any of that. I just remember just being like in the moment and just like working out and just being like, I don't even know what the fuck. To be honest, I don't even know what I actually said. I think if you've slowed down the video and watched my lips, I don't really know.
Have you ever killed anybody?
No. That'd be a tough one to admit. Be like, actually, well.
I don't know. I think it was kind of like, I don't know. It was like a real like when you get in trouble in elementary school and the teacher's like, no, you need to go apologize to whoever, like, and whoever, let's make this really awkward, go over here and say a very like meaningful apology.
Right.
Like we all know that like you were going to be pissed off, and it was
speaking
just like,
to you in private.
We're adults.
That's what I mean. Like he didn't have to film this. He didn't have to get all the like your fucking peers around you to be like, hey, we're all gonna like, you know, I don't know, whip this guy's ass a little bit real quick. You know, like let's all like take part in this. I think that was kind of bullshit in my opinion.
A lot of people wanted me to sue for like defamation of character and like all this stuff, especially because I was just about to open my gym like within like 6 months after this or whatever, and it was like. my mom was crying. She's like, oh my God, everybody's going to hate you. Like, no one's going to go to the gym. And like, you should sue because like all this stuff. And it's like, oh, Mom, I just don't even want to deal with it. It's like, I think I'm like, people will forget, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one ever did. We're still here. But yeah.
I mean, you came out winning, honestly. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You've won. So.
Yeah, like if we go back to, you know, pre-video here, it was like that girl came in and told me to start that programming. And I was giving you the backstory on basically how much I was working and how hard I was working. I was only doing that for $4,000 a month. That was my salary. And that was what I agreed to pay myself, and everything else would go towards paying the gym back. And it was interesting because the first day that I launched my online program, I literally made $4,000. And I was like, fuck, this is cool.
Yeah.
I just like doubled my paycheck. And it was like, it's something that was probably going to keep coming because it's a online subscription.
And is that different from the app you have right now, or is that the app that you currently have?
It's the same app, yeah.
Same app.
And then I would just like create more programs for online, like, because in the gym was only like 1-2 programs that was really going on. Like I have a conditioning class and then the CrossFit class. And then I just put on a lot more stuff. Like we talked a little bit before the show where it's like, you know, your training changes as you get older just because like shit changes in your life. Like you get older and like, you know, maybe certain things just don't feel as good anymore or all these. It's not that like you believe in things differently. It's just that like you have to work around, you know, whatever you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So I've created styles of training now that, you know, make me a very sought after coach. Like for me right now, my most popular program, which was literally, it made me extremely nervous to even launch because I was doing muscle ups. I would still do the open with my gym, the CrossFit Open, and I was doing muscle ups one day and I snapped my bicep tendon. Doing a muscle up, literally my bicep just shot into my shoulder and it was a horrible feeling. And then I was always kind of scared to come back and do CrossFit. So I literally was like, all right, well, you know, as soon as it gets better, I'm going to do bodybuilding. And just going to do that for a little bit because I'm probably going to need to do that to build my strength back up and everything. And then I started to realize, I was like, all right, well, you know, I can't really do like a proper shoulder day or a proper arm day or any of these things. So like, I'm going to try to like maybe like look into something else. So I looked into like full body training and I was like, all right, well, you know, because you get to do one exercise per body part each day, like it really makes training a lot more fun because then I get to just work around it like pretty easily. Like if something bothers my arm, I just won't do arms that day, but I still have like, you know, chest and back and legs and all these different things. So I started looking into like a lot of different avenues in training and like, you know, how many sets can you be doing per muscle group, you know, per week and all these different things and all these like just all these different styles of training. And I started to bring in the full view of everything I've ever learned and kind of because I'd spent so much time in a gym, I was like, what do people like? And what are people lacking? It's like, what's the real thing that people need that they don't really necessarily want to do themselves because it's boring or it's this or it's that? And then what are they realistically going to do on their own anyway? Because like no one really follows the 100% this is what you should do plan. And it's like coffee. It's like everyone knows you probably should just drink regular coffee, but we're going to add all this other shit in there because it tastes good, right? And it's the same thing with training. It's like you really should do this, but all this other stuff's really fun. So I created something called the Full Body Aesthetics Program, and I abide by, you know, the certain amount of sets per week, per muscle group per week, depending on your ability level and all that. But I only have like 1 or 2 movements each week that are progressive, and we measure them every single week. And then all the other movements, I call them accessory movements, and they're like constantly varied, which goes by the kind of the CrossFit protocol. And in my mind, I think people, because they have more variation, they put out a better RIR or RPE because it's more exciting. And, you know, because of that, they wind up potentially putting a little bit more effort into the lifts. So when you put more effort into the lift, you get better results. And then because you have some progressive overload, you actually can track some progress.
Yeah.
So I always say, you know, stop guessing, start progressing, stop exercising, start training, all these different things to give people like a little ring in their mind of what's important.
What are some examples of the progressive movements that you have them, like those 2 movements? What are some examples of like how some of those would look in different training programs?
So each day I have a priority movement. So like, let's just say Monday would be like a leg progressive movement.
Yes.
And sometimes it could be like a leg and a chest. And then the next day would be like a back and a bicep or something like that. It depends if I pick 1 or 2 movements to progress. But each day would have that one main movement, and then we would actually have all those accessory movements.
And is it classic, like, you know, some people have that big compound movement as the progressive movement? Is it something like that?
It's
or is
usually
it
a big
things?
compound for most of the part.
Fuck, in this video right here, you just did 5 different movements, I think, right?
6.
6. Fuck, that gets to be. So then you might advocate that somebody goes through that maybe a couple of times.
So it's just like regular bodybuilding. It'd be like 3 or 4 sets. And it depends how many days a week we do it. So I have 3-day per week programs, 4 days, 5-day week programs. And then I do custom like one-on-one coaching stuff where people call in and I create, custom stuff. But on the app right now, we're on a 4-day per week cycle. So when it's 4 days per week, I up the sets so that everyone's getting a certain amount of sets in per week per muscle group. But yeah, so there is full body programs where you have emphasis points for the day. And then the way that I do mine is you literally do 1 exercise per body part per day per session. So you will literally do 1 thing for chest, back, arms, legs. So arms being biceps and triceps. And then at the end of each session, every other day, like one day is abs, the next day is calves. So abs and calves, I alternate. But then every other day during the training session, you do 1 exercise per body part. And what I found was anyone who's ever getting nagging little injuries, super easy to work around.
Yes.
Also, anyone who gets like bored with the traditional bro split, super fun way to switch things up. And you get to have those varying accessory movements. You also you don't really get bored following the same movements that are progressive because there's only like 1 or 2 of them. And then here's the really cool part. So because of CrossFit and my background with all that stuff and being in the gym for thousands and thousands of hours, I had one day that it started off as like 100 reps of each movement. So you would still have your 6 or 7 movements.
Okay.
And you would do like 100 reps and you have about 7 minutes to do it.
Okay.
So I call them density sets. So every week you'd have those same movements and your goal was to do either a few more reps with the same weight or go a little bit heavier and get a few less reps, but overall more volume. So I started having these, like, we call them density Saturdays or density Fridays, depends how many days are in the training session. So now we have the full body template, and then on one day of the week, we always have the density day. And density days, everyone gets super hyped.
Yeah.
So sometimes they're just like AMRAPs. It's like a 7-minute AMRAP of a certain amount of a certain lift. You just do that lift with 30% of your max for as many reps as possible in 7 minutes, or it's 100 reps and you have to pick a weight that's 30 to 40% of your max. And I do stuff like that now on those days. So you kind of have like an interval day. You're getting a full body training session, which is basically the concept of CrossFit. Is just, it's a full body session.
Yes.
Minus like the super, super high intensity. And then I mix in like the RPEs and all these different variables. But dude, the program fucking made people insane. And for me, it was one of the most terrifying things in my business career, because I was known as the CrossFit guy, and I was known for making like very, very well thought out training programs for CrossFit and like interval training.
Yeah.
I always kind of shied away from the true CrossFit training style. And that's why a lot of people sought me out, because I would stay away from like tons of handstand push-up, tons of overhead squats, tons of snatches and cleans and all these different things. And I would kind of focus more on like squats, deadlifts, and presses. And we would do some power cleans.
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Was that mainly because those are attributes that are more for the competitive athletes, and it's like not fun to do in your gym if you're not a competitive athlete?
That plus I took personal responsibility of what you looked like when you walked outside my gym. Personally, for me, it was a really big deal for you to leave my gym and people to be like, bro, you look great. Like, where do you work out? And then you would say, Chalk. And to me, that was everything. And I remember watching classes where I'm like, dude, I really want everyone to snatch. I want people to like snatching as much as I do. And the reality is not a lot of people are going to be in that position, probably anytime soon. And then if they are doing that, and that's the only hour of the day they have to train, I just gave them like, we basically just fucked around and did like some practice. So I want them to have like really quick body composition changes and be like aesthetically looking like a savage. But I can't do that if I'm doing a lot of high skill stuff.
Yeah.
So I would take that out. And I think that's why a lot of people come to my gym and they love the program so much, because it was stuff you could do and you didn't have to like sit there and learn it. And when I started to realize that like only 1% of someone's gym is really going to have people who want to go to the CrossFit games and stuff like that. And I understand you might want to snatch, but if you want to snatch that bad, you're probably the person that will stay after and do it anyway.
Yeah.
So if that 1 hour of the day is like the most important part of your day, and that's the only time that I have with you to make you look as good as possible, I'm going to take away all that stuff. And that's what I used to do. So I would tell people, they'd be like, well, what's your program like compared to Invictus or compared to whoever? I would say, well, a lot of them are really focused on performance. And while I am focused on performance by having this high intensity interval stuff in here, my main focus is aesthetics. So if you want to look better and also move well, that's me. If you want to perform better and all that, then yeah, you go to these other guys. And I was fine with it. A lot of people came to me, and it was great. Like a lot of people found me.
Yeah.
But then after I got injured, even all that stuff was like kind of scary to me, and I was kind of burned out on it because I had done it for such a long time. And I was kind of nervous to talk about the bodybuilding stuff because like I look good, but I don't look like a bodybuilder. Like I would never tell someone like, you should do my bodybuilding program, like in a gym full of bodybuilders. Like I would, I'm not going to go to like the Dragon's Lair in Las Vegas and tell people about my amazing bodybuilding program when there's like some fucking Mr. Olympia right next to me. Like it makes you a little bit insecure. So to talk about it to me was hard. But then all these athletes are like, dude, I've been doing the full body aesthetics program and it's fucking insane. Like I feel so much better. This is such a great way to train. Like I'm all in. And I've been asking recently, like in emails and in my Facebook groups and stuff, like, hey, I have 7 programs I write every day, still to this day. I'm the only person that's ever written any programs for my training. And I'm like, how many of you guys are following like which program? And I'm like 50, 60% of just people following the full body aesthetics program now. And I like, officially like made that kind of switch and been like known for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. Like it was a really scary time for me because I was like, if I go into this, it could be something that kind of people don't like. It's going to be it's a scary jump, because I'm known for this and now I'm doing this. And it's, people really like it and I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I've had all these times in my life where there's like these like really big, scary jumps. And I'm just happy everything's been working out so far.
Power Project family, how's it going? Hope you're enjoying the episode. And this episode is brought to you by Merrick Health, the premium telehealth clinic from Derek from More Plates, More Dates. Now, if you've been wanting to get your blood work done or if you wanted to get your blood work analyzed by a physician, Merrick has your back on that. And Andrew, can you tell them how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys know exactly what labs you want to get, you guys can load them all up into your cart and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off all labs. But if you're like me and you're not sure exactly where to start, you guys can get the Power Project panel. You guys can head over to merrickhealth.com/powerproject and you guys will see a whole panel of like over 26 different labs, everything from head to toe that you're going to need to know what's going on under the hood. And again, to get in on that, head over to merrickhealth.com/powerproject and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save $101 off of that entire panel. Links to them and all the information down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
In the gym, we were talking about the idea of people being scared to start something, as you were just talking about. And you were talking to me about a cool thing that people should be adding. Because like whenever, like when people ask me, how should I start jujitsu, or I'm too big to start jujitsu, I need to build mobility before, I'm just like, just start. You'll figure things out as you go.
Oh, yeah.
But there's an aspect of it that you were mentioning that's actually pretty fucking cool that people can take into their minds. So
yeah, so like in business, I'm sure you get a lot of stuff for this. Everyone always says, like even Gary Vee, like all these people in social media now, they're like, you just have to start. Just start. Mm-hmm. And as someone who's scared to start, no one ever tells you why you should start. And I think that there's a missing piece that is very, very important. And it's like, if I had ever started something when I thought it was perfect, I probably would never started anything. And that's why people tell you to just start. But also, when you start something, when it is perfect, it's still not perfect. It's perfect in your eyes. So whether you start it when you think it's not ready or whether you start it when it actually is ready in your mind, they're both equally shitty moments. So you have to start it so you can figure out what's wrong to make it best. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, the best things I'd ever created, literally, I didn't really like them nearly as much as everybody else. And then I would change them and make them better, in my opinion, and they like the other version better. So it's like, there really is no perfect starting point. So I think it's interesting when people say you should just start, and it's like, if you're someone right now, you're listening to this and you're like, man, I really wanted to start, my Mind Bullet company, or I really wanted to start, a slingshot company or whatever it is, or an online training program, but you don't think you're just quite there yet. You're never really going to be quite there because when you launch it, like that's when all the things fucking hit the fan, and it doesn't really matter at the starting point when it is, because the perfect never really happens.
It's just a start.
Yeah.
You just started, and then you're going to get feedback from people, and hopefully from that feedback, then it will help mold into a product, right?
Yeah. I just think it's always amazing when you think it's great. That's when everybody hates it, and it's the other version that was so much better.
yeah. Is that like, for example, the full body aesthetics program is by putting that out and then realizing that people couldn't necessarily be doing all the snatches and stuff? Is it after you put it out that you realize that, or did you have an understanding that like some of this shit's just too complex for most people to do, and I need to do something like this.
Dude, I just looked at data. I'm so amazed that people don't look at more data. Like, you guys are very data-driven individuals, but like, you know, in the 70s, there's this guy named Pat O'Shea. He invented interval weight training, IWTs.
I didn't know that.
Right? So like all of a sudden we have, you know, Greg Glassman and we have Jim Jones. You guys know Jim Jones? Mark Twight?
Yeah. Is Jim Jones the machine guy? The guy that made some of the machines? No, it's Arthur Jones.
Jim Jones is GYM, Jim, like the Jim Jones, and he's in Utah. That's the name of his gym, Jim Jones. And he became famous when he trained everyone for the movie 300.
Oh,
right.
I didn't. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he and Greg Glassman at the same time started these like interval training programs. And they both broke off and made their own like training certifications. So the CrossFit Level 1, and then like there's the Jim Jones certifications. And they kind of like butted heads and kind of created their own little communities separately.
So this is Jim Jones.
That's actually Brian McDonald.
Oh.
Who's one of the top trainers. But regardless, these companies came up, they blew up, and basically the ideology was interval weight training, which like everyone thinks that, you know, all of this is from Greg Glassman, but like this whole interval weight training thing started with Pat O'Shea in the 70s. And essentially what it was, this is how fucking CrossFit was supposed to be. And it got out of hand, just like most things. So essentially it was supposed to be like a lift, like a 5-rep back squat or a 3-rep power clean, done with like great form and control and everything. And then you would hop on your cardio machine for a given period of time. And those would be the intervals. That's why it was IWT, interval weight training. So you would do, for instance, a workout is 3 pieces. So let's just say you would do your power, your strength, and then your accessory. That's typically how it would go. And then there would be segments in your training where you would have endurance focus or power focus or whatever you want it to be. And I'll explain that in a second. So a typical workout would look like this: 3 power cleans, 2 minutes on the rower at 90% effort for max meters. And then you'd rest 2 minutes and you would do 3 cycles of that. Okay. So you have your power, you have your cardio. You'd rest 5 minutes. Part 2 would be now your strength movement. So you'd have like 5 back squats and then double unders for 2 minutes, or assault bike, like maybe 30 calories on the assault bike at like 90% effort. And you would repeat that for 3 rounds. And then maybe you'd have a ladder of like 10-to-1 pull-ups and handstand push-ups. So like 10-10, 9-9, 8-8, blah, blah, blah. And like that's the training session. And then you would also have days where, you know, you do a squat and then it'd be like 4 rounds of a Tabata, like 20 on, 10 off, if you're looking for more something like that kind of realm. And that was the kind of training that they started to realize that these like compound lifts mixed with cardio, people were getting stronger and they were getting leaner, and it was like that kind of stuff. But then with Greg Glassman, when he was training his personal training clients, he was trying to get more training clients in a shorter window. So he started making AMRAPs and started making things a little bit more intense. And then he started to realize people were getting really great results because they're getting a lot of work in a short period of time. Yeah. And then it kind of created like what we have now. But essentially, the safer way to do it was the old school IWT. So for me, I'm like, I take that stuff with the CrossFit stuff, with the what I like to call the 80% of what people should do, and give them the 20% of what they want to do. Now, it might not be the smartest thing to do the density days that I have on the session, right? Those are pretty tough days. But taking that mentality of a person who likes that type of stuff, you're going to put more effort into it. Like, no one ever talks about the fucking X factor in training. Yeah, there's volume, there's intensity, there's this, there's that, and then there's X factor, which is like, I have to like this shit. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter who your coach is. It doesn't matter what the training program comes from. But, you know, it's the factor that a lot of people don't talk about.
Yeah, if you don't like it, you're gonna fuck off, right? You're not gonna do half of it, or after a while you'll just fall off and you won't. You're not participating in it enough to get the results. Yeah, and honestly, I think that everyone should change training programs every maybe like a year. I don't know. Whether it's, you know, you're following someone's training program and you follow like a different program that they have, or you just follow someone else's program in general. I used to tell people when they'd come to my gym, I'd be like, you know, after like a year, they'd be like, they would say something about the gym. And I'm like, you're welcome to go try another gym. You should, because I'll see you back in a couple days. You'll realize how much better this place is. And then people don't really know what they're really missing until they try something new. Yeah. So like, I always think that's great, is to just go try something else and either come back to it, or, you know, whether it's a training program or your gym. But like, you know, I always think it's interesting when people, they get bored of training and they don't try new stuff. They just keep
thinking that this is the only way and that's it.
I don't even know if I've ever done the same workout twice ever in my life.
Oh, I love that.
I think every time I go to the gym, there's a different order, there's a different weight, there's a different rep, there's a different.
Even when you were at Westside?
Always, yeah. Just always, switch stuff. I mean, sometimes even before like a particular like max effort squat workout, I might have done 8 sets of glute ham raises or something before it. And then especially at Westside, he's constantly changing. I think CrossFit utilized some of Louis' methods and stuff too.
The conjugate stuff, yeah.
Yeah, with the conjugate stuff, changing the heavier lift often. So even when I was younger, even when all I knew was kind of like progressive overload type stuff, I just didn't have the attention to do like the 5x5 and then to increase, 17 pounds the next week and shit like that.
Well, dude, I tell it like this all the time. It's like, if you are in California and you want to go to New York and you get in your car and you drive east, you're going to get there, right? It might take you longer, but you will get there. However, there is one road that is faster. And if you take the road, you're going to get there faster. So, I mean, like, it's up to you. I'm not saying that you can't get results with varying intensities and modalities and different things. Like, you can, just it might going to take longer. And we all have different genetic makeup, so it might take you longer in that aspect as well than it takes someone else. So like all 3 of us at this table are going to, put on muscle and recover at different rates. However, most likely there is a better route for you, and it's really up to you. And I like to tell people right now, because social media is so fucked, where it's like people are doing so many crazy things just to get attention, and it's like that person has earned the right to do some dumb shit because they did a lot of stuff right for a long time, and now it doesn't really matter what they do because they're in something called maintenance mode. Do you know what I'm saying? Like right now, if all of us want to stay exactly the way we look, we can go roll dice that have movements on it for all we care, right? We can roll some dice and be like, hey, we're doing fucking backflips and back squats today. And like we're all going to look pretty much the same. But you haven't earned the right. I tell people you need to earn the right to maintain.
Yeah.
I'm going to be dead if we do backflips. I'm going to land right on my head.
I can't do a backflip either.
Oh, okay, Jimmy House.
But
yeah, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I tell people that's an earned thing. Like to be able to do dumb shit and all that is like an earned thing. And a lot of people come into CrossFit and they've already been a prior athlete. Like I was bobsled or like someone else was a baseball player or a football player or whatever. And they come into CrossFit and they look like a savage. And then they wind up eating less food and doing more intensity workouts and they get super lean. People don't realize that they're not building that body from scratch doing CrossFit. So because of that, a lot of people think that, they need to do all these insane workouts just to get to a certain point. And it's like, you really could do some boring shit for a little bit. And then, when you want to just go off the handles and have fun, you're ready to just have fun, then yeah, we can do all this other stuff. But I think people are really underestimating the power of maintenance.
But exactly like you're saying, the density days in your program are days where people can inject that fun. Because like I look at my training in the past, my training was extremely regimented because I'm gaining muscle. I'm getting ready for a show. I'm getting ready for a powerlifting meet. But now my training's just like stuff that allows me to explore different levels of movement and try to get, I'm trying to be able to do like wild calisthenic type shit, right? And a lot of my training's kind of around, it's fun, right? But if my goal were to just gain muscle as fast as possible, I'd be much more regimented in terms of exactly what I'm doing all the time. But I've reached a point where it's kind of enjoyable. I want to have fun and explore different things there now. But I'm curious for you, you're not competing in anything right now. Is your training still, because it seems like you do like regimented type stuff. So is your training still that way?
So a lot of times right now I'm following something pretty strict. Okay. And then a lot of times I will veer off. Like when I start traveling, like if you guys like, hey, you want to do this workout with me? Like I'll say yes. You know what I mean? Do I care that much if I have a little bit less body fat like next month or whatever? Like not necessarily. Yeah. If I got to a point where I didn't like the way I looked, I would be 100% locked in. Recently I started mountain bike racing. So I do some mountain bike racing stuff. A lot of people don't know, like I'll randomly go out for like 100-mile bike rides on my road bike.
How long does it take?
That's like 5.5 to 6 hours. Depends on how much you climb. Whew. Unfortunately, I can't run. Like I'd love to go run with Mark and do a marathon, but it's just not in the cards for me.
Why not?
I don't know if you guys know, my left knee is bone on bone.
Holy shit! Would that happen through CrossFit or
a mixture of like snowboard accident and then the CrossFit stuff as well? Yeah. Wow. So like on my right, my left leg doesn't even go past 90 degrees. So one thing you'll actually see in a lot of my programs and a lot of the videos I mean on social media. You'll see me like literally back rack lunge like 400 pounds, but I can't do like a bodyweight air squat. I can't like mentally squat down evenly.
Yeah.
And I also can't go below parallel. So that was another one of the reasons why I had to stop doing CrossFit, because I couldn't get any reps for like a wall ball or a squat or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, step one to becoming an entrepreneur was, you know, that whole incident. And then step two was my body kind of broke down. So between all of that, it really pushed me into that entrepreneur category. But then also I'm thankful for this shitty scenario with CrossFit. And then I'm equally thankful for all the things that broke on my body, because it helped me create these programs that I have now that are so successful.
Yeah.
So I think it's all fucking gravy. Like, you know, it's all good. So I'm trying to tell you, it's hard to give me a bad day.
Yeah.
I got a speeding ticket on the way here, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I heard. How fast were you going?
87.
Oh.
In a
65.
65. Ugh.
Yep, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah. Have you like discovered anything on the nutrition side? Like as far as like, you know, you're saying you want people to like snatch and stuff. And then you're like, wait, with this full body stuff, people are getting a lot more success with it. Was there something where you were like, I think everyone should be zero carb or low carb? And then it's like, well, shit, actually they're getting a lot of success on this carb cycling thing.
Yeah, the carb cycling thing is really big for me. And I think it's just more of a lifestyle thing. Like, it's for me, like when I actually did CrossFit and I looked insane, like the most aesthetically pleasing that I looked and my performance was crazy was I was literally only eating 3 pounds of ground beef every day. 80% ground beef. I'd wake up, I'd have a pound. I would train for a few hours. I would, you know, have lunch, have a pound. And then at night, I'd have another pound. It was so funny because I was a carnivore dude before anyone even said the word carnivore.
That diet does mean that you're broke.
Dude, for sure, right?
Yeah, 80% ground beef, yeah.
80% ground beef. If I could get even fattier, like I'd get like a ground lamb sometimes and all that stuff. So that was what I was doing every single day. And a lot of people thought I was nuts, but I was like, dude, I feel good. And I like no carbs. And then now, like I have a lot more carbs in my diet. I'm a lot more flexible in my diet and all that stuff. But it's interesting because you just have these like set, everything in your life is a belief. The only reason we develop as human beings is because we break beliefs. Like all of it, right? Like, I mean, if you think fat makes you fat, like the way you eat is going to be changed forever. If you think, you know, heavy squats give you a big booty, then you're always going to be doing heavy squats. If you know, if you think making $10,000 a month is, you know, the most amount of money possible and you meet someone who makes $1 million a month, that is like always going to be your belief. But as soon as you meet people who break these beliefs, like I always tell people my favorite people in my circle are like belief breakers. Anyone who believes something that I don't necessarily believe to be true is one of my people that I envy the most. And I want to be around them more because I want to figure out how to break that belief. Like I don't want to believe in anything. I want to believe in like just the things that literally just take you to the next level, whatever it is. And I think that's one of those things too. It's like, if I can just let myself accept different things, because at that time I was like, dude, carbs, there's no way. Like if I have carbs, I'm gonna look like shit. Like, and then like, you know, now I have all these different carbs and I'm fine. And then, you know, you start to just, everything that I create now is basically created off of all of the data in my mind of like what people want and what people need. And that is like how I will always create everything from now on. I like to call myself like the people's champ of fitness and nutrition.
You mentioned in the gym that you know Alex Hormozi. So how is that having him in your circle? Because he's an entrepreneur and he's putting out a lot of great information. And I know people are, you know, following him and paying attention to what he's got going on.
He's the ultimate belief breaker. I think he had like 6,000 followers when I first met him. I sent him a DM and I said, hey bro, do you want to get on a podcast together? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, I'm pretty spontaneous. Wherever you're at, I could be there tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, I live in Texas. And yeah, if you want to come tomorrow, do it. And I literally like 3 hours later sent him a picture of my plane ticket. And I was like, I'll be there tomorrow. And he's like, wow, you weren't kidding. I was like, nope. Showed up to his house. He gave me his address to his house, which was kind of weird because I'm used to like going to a studio or something. Like going to someone's home just seems a little bit intrusive, but showed up. And we just hung out for like 20 minutes and we were supposed to do the podcast that day. And he's like, do you want to work out? We like work out in his garage. And, you know, we start working out, didn't even do the podcast that day. Was planning on going home that day. And he's like, so you want to hang out tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. And then that turned into like me being there for like 3 days. And we wound up eventually doing the podcast. We wound up becoming really close friends ever since then. We've been hanging out. But he's probably the first person who just like shattered beliefs for me in terms of what was possible in terms of business. Like, man, like the way he thinks about business, it just makes you feel so small. Like he doesn't even think about anything on a small level. It's always a large level, even if he's not there yet. And then also he had so many different ways of looking at things that makes me never really want to look at things the same, like ever again.
What are some core beliefs of yourself that like maybe were holding you back, or maybe if we're fairly general, that by breaking those beliefs or getting around certain people, you've been able to reach your next level? Like what are some things you see a lot where you're like, I used to be like that?
So, I mean, I used to think like there was like a certain amount of money that I thought was like a lot. And, you know, around all of my friends and stuff, it was a lot. But I was never around anyone who made more. And even when you think people make more, you don't understand how much it really is. Like living in Newport, and I see people drive around in all these crazy ass cars and stuff, you're just like, yeah, they probably make like $1 million a year. I don't know, like a lot. Right? It's a lot. But then you like listen to someone like, I think like Alex makes like 13 million a month right now. It's like fucking blows your fucking mind. You know what I'm saying? So like you just hear numbers on a different level where it's just like, whoa. And you're like, okay, like everything is not what I thought, you know? But then also for him, because he's such an entrepreneur, it makes me believe like what I'm supposed to do, because I didn't realize, like, dude, I like my whole team right now of everything for Chalk is like I was telling you, is like 3 people.
Yeah.
Right. And he's just like, oh, you gotta have a person for this, gotta have a person for this, gotta have a person for this. I was like, fuck, I don't even know how to hire people. You know, like I don't know any of that stuff. And like he's just like really helped with a lot of that stuff. And just like if I had met him earlier in my athletic career, I would have known that I didn't need the prerequisite of success to define who I was in business. Because he's just like, no, you just need like a very good personality and like, you know, someone that people jive with, and a good business and a good, you know, selling proposition and different things like that. I mean, the guy was able to build a $50 million business in like 2 or 3 years, $50 million a year recurring business called Gym Launch, which he sold this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was able to do that as someone with 6,000 followers on Instagram.
Which is like based off a phone call he had with Grant Cardone or something like that, right?
That was actually later on. So what he has now is something called acquisition.com, which is basically he acquires businesses and helps them grow like 10x, and then hopefully they sell, and then he takes a percentage of that. And that was basically kind of a collaboration of things he was thinking about mixed with like, you know, the Grant Cardone. I think he paid him like 135 grand for 3 hours or something.
Right.
But it's funny when you hear him talk about it, because he's like, you know, if I make X amount of dollars, you know, let's just say, you know, if you make X amount of dollars and for you to go out to a 5-star dinner, it's equivalent to someone paying like $5. Like, wouldn't you do it? And he's like, well, what if, you know, you make X amount of dollars and a conversation with this person, let's say it's 135 grand, but it's equivalent to like 135 bucks. Like, would you pay for it? And it's just like, he thinks about it on that level. Yeah. Like, I remember talking about like maybe getting rid of my car. Like, I have a fancy car. And he's like, well, you know what? Actually, he would break down like, how much money do you make? And then he'd break it down by like hour. And then he'd be like, yeah, it's actually cheaper for you to do Uber. And then you'd be able to make money while you're in the Uber. And he breaks it down like that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's crazy. And he's not like laughing when he says, he's like, oh, you want to sell your car? So blah, 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 blah. And just like breaks it all down. It's insane.
It's pretty sick to have somebody like that.
It's pretty incredible.
In your back pocket. Did you at least kick his ass when you worked out?
In some things, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
In some things, yeah. He is incredibly jacked as well. Yeah, that's actually just a couple days ago. 5 days ago, yeah.
It's very jacked.
And then my other buddy there, that's Sonny Webster. He went to the Olympics for weightlifting and for the UK.
That's fucking awesome. Let me ask you this, because early on, I mean, Andrew told me that even before, he was seeing a lot of advertisements for your app.
My ads, yeah.
Yeah. So what, I guess were you doing that earlier than other individuals in terms of getting that out? Because your app has a lot of members.
Yeah. So way earlier, that was like one of the things that really projected me really fast, was I started doing the ads very, very early. Because I knew nobody else was doing them. And I had this weird, you know, the prerequisite to be an athlete, to be able to tell people to listen to me, was something that was tough. So like when I first launched the app, I told you I made $4,000, and it was, you know, the same I was making in the gym, and I realized this was going to be a thing, but I didn't really accept it in terms of like, I should tell everyone. Like, I didn't go on my social media and start shouting like from the rooftops and say, hey, you guys should follow my program, you should do this, you should do that. I kind of like just didn't say much because I was like, I didn't win the CrossFit games. I wasn't the best athlete. And I felt insecure about being the person who was making money. Because even like the $4,000 a month was more than like everyone in like the freaking world of CrossFit. Like nobody was making any money. And I was actually telling him before on that social media at the time didn't even have stories yet. It was just like I would make a post and then I would sell things like in my DMs. And then eventually the Chalk Online got up to like $20,000 a month. And then eventually I still didn't say anything. I would say something like maybe once a month. And it got to like $40,000 a month. This probably took like a year and a half to 2 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that was when I officially stopped doing CrossFit. My knee was all fucked up. And I just was like in a bad place for like 3 months, just really, really upset and depressed. Like, I'm not going to be competing anymore and like all this stuff. And like, yeah, business is good, but like it doesn't mean shit to me because I just like loved. Dude, my favorite thing to do was to snatch and to back squat. Those are my two favorite things to do.
Yeah.
And I literally to this day, I cannot do a back squat, period. Which is probably never even going to happen again. Some shit's so fucked up. And then snatches and all that stuff. I was like, fuck, this just sucks so bad.
Yeah.
But then once I got over it and I just was like, dude, like you can still lunge, you can do this, you can do that, you can ride your bike, you can still go surfing. Like there's so many things that you're still good at and you can still do. Like just fucking get over it. And I got over it. And I would say like 3 months after maybe that $40,000 thing, I'd like hit 6 figures a month. And I was like, all right, look, we got a real business here. Let's fucking try to figure out how to grow this thing. And that was pretty much where everything kind of started for me. And I was like, wow, this is like really cool. And I think if you follow me now on social media, like more than just being a coach and all that stuff, is I put a lot of like inspirational content out there because when I graduated college, it was like I got a kinesiology degree, I got a nutrition degree. And to me, like the ultimate job was to be a strength conditioning coach for a college football team or NFL team. You like maybe make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
There was no like entrepreneur side of fitness, and it was just like now that there is, it's like I feel for the person who's younger and like wants to do something really cool but doesn't know how, or hasn't had his beliefs broken yet in a way to understand what's possible. You know what I mean? Like for me, owning my gym in Newport Beach, California, like I remember making my $4,000 a month and going on a run for the 1 mile mark at my gym. I was doing a workout where, I would run a half mile outside my gym, turn around, run back. That was the 1 mile mark. And I remember running a half mile out and I saw a for sale sign by owner right down the street from my gym, right at the half mile mark. And I was like, when the workout was over, I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I found the perfect house. I'm going to buy this house. It's like half a mile from the gym. It's this little tiny little shack thing. It's going to be great. My mom's like, how much is it? I'm like, I don't know, but it's 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Can't be that much. I called up and it was $990,000. And I was like, holy fuck. Like I thought it was like 300 grand, maybe 200. I thought it was way lower, And then that was when I was like, I'm never going to make enough money to live here. And I'm just going to accept the fact that like, I'm just a poor person. And like that to me versus now, I'm the same person with the same passions and the same thing, but I have met people in my life that have changed the way I've thought about that. And my definition of like what's possible is just no longer the same. And it literally, it would not have been the way it is if I didn't meet certain people. I wasn't just going to stumble upon shit like randomly. Like I met people who took me to the next level. And then I met people who broke those beliefs and told me that what I was doing really wasn't really that impressive at all. And even to this day, I'm like, I don't really think what I do is all that impressive until I get to a certain point. And I'm probably sure I'll meet someone at that point. It makes me feel even less impressive.
Yeah.
But, for the person who's in his entrepreneurial journey right now, and he's somewhere where he's on a half mile run and he sees a house that he thinks he can buy and there's absolutely no fucking chance of him buying it, I would like to give you the tips to at least give you the belief that it's possible. Because if you at least have that belief, then you can walk around with a different type of poise, right? Where you're just like, I can do this. Ryan did it. Fuck, Ryan was stealing shit and was sleeping on a couch and crying himself to sleep and fucking whatever.
I think when someone has a business or they start making money in a particular avenue, then it's sometimes hard for them to think outside of that avenue. So even someone who's wealthy, who's doing really well, sometimes gets like stuck in they're like, this is working really well, and they just stay there. And they're not really thinking about progressing somewhere else or pushing into something else.
Get comfortable.
Yeah. So for you, are you trying to get your app to be in like different languages? Like, are you messing around with like, various things, because most likely it's probably pretty popular here in the U.S. And then once you get outside the U.S., it probably gets a little complicated. But have you been considering other moves like that? Or things outside the box?
I've lost like tens of thousands of dollars trying to create my own app, kind of getting screwed by developers and different things like that. I would ultimately like to have my own app that had all sorts of different things, kind of like what you're talking about. But I'm just like, I haven't really found that yet. Like right now, my big thing is my girlfriend and I we like started like the VIP version of Chalk, whereas like it's a one-on-one service where you get to work with me and another coach like directly. So I make you a custom like everything, and it's nutrition and training and all of that stuff. And you get access to a coach, and like we do calls and like all that stuff. It's like we call it like a lifestyle recalibration. So we like really tune you into all of the things that makes a great fitness person like great, right? Beyond just the weights, and it's like the why behind everything as well. That's like a lot more in-depth program. It's taken me a while to build, but that's available now. And like that's kind of our top tier thing. That thing's quite a bit more expensive. So I'll have these two different routes, but I'd always like to just stay in fitness. Like maybe we'll get into supplements at one point, debatably, but I don't really necessarily care. Like I'm happy to grow my app as big as possible. And I mean, people have done some really cool stuff. Like I don't know if you guys know Kayla Itzines. She sold her app, the Sweat app, for $400 million.
I've heard of Sweat.
I've heard
I
of
didn't
it,
know
yeah.
her.
Chris Hemsworth, he owns the Center app. He just sold his for $200 million or $250 like a couple of weeks ago. I mean, you can make a lot of money just staying in your one lane. I will never be somebody who needs $1 billion. Like Alex, my friend Alex, he wants $1 billion, and nothing in life matters until he gets there. For me, I would give up significantly more money to go ride my bike and to go paddleboard and to go on really cool trips. I think Zoe's sitting over there and she knows that for sure. I'm like a super experienced guy. Like for me, everything is experience. Like I will spend a lot of money on like fun shit.
Yeah.
And then I'll be cheap as all get out on so many other things.
Is your gym at this point, is it just to kind of have, like, so you have a place to train type of thing and you have a good community, or is it still like really beneficial in some other ways?
I mean, I used to love filming there and being there all the time and all that stuff. And that's gotten a little bit harder just because I can't hang out in the gym for like 4 hours a day like I used to, 4 or 5 hours. And like now I'm not in there so much where I'm up to speed on everyone's life. So if I just go in even for like an hour training session, it turns into like 3. And then the rest of my day, I'm like really stressed out because I'm far behind. And then even when I'm in there, I'm like at work in my mind, I'm like, that coach is doing something wrong. That person has like my really expensive competition plates and he's outside and he's ruining them. Oh my God. So like I can't get a good workout in.
Yeah.
So like I'm at the point now where I literally can't work out in my gym, and people are always like saying like, I can't believe you don't work out at your own gym. And I'm like, dude, I can't mentally. So yeah, I mean, it serves its purpose because a lot of people aspire to go there, and I love having it, and people are so pumped to go and actually be there. And it's a great place to film. Like to this day, like Zoe always makes fun of me, but it's like, I get embarrassed to go film at other gyms. Like I get embarrassed to like take my shirt off and then like be like someone of authority, like talking on camera in front of other people. Cause it's like, I don't like being that like attention guy where it's like, I'm the shit and you guys should listen to me type of thing. But in my gym, it's so easy to do. Like I feel very confident, but then in other places, you know, not the same. So I like having it for those purposes.
What's the deal with Zoe? She's pretty jacked.
Dude, she's fucking jacked.
You said that people just go talking to her. They don't talk to you anymore.
No, I'm invisible. No one can even live their life anymore when they see her. They can't go to the grocery store. They can't. I mean, like wherever they are, they're frozen in time, and they're just like, that girl is jacked.
Yeah.
I'm like, full body statics, bro.
How'd you meet her?
We actually met in the gym, and I actually give her a lot of credit. She's like, you know, super heroic person. She, you know, has the last couple months has quit her job to be a, you know, fitness entrepreneur and kind of like live a new lifestyle, which has definitely been.
She had an amazing job before that, you said.
She had an amazing job as a PA, physician assistant, which is like harder to do now than it is to be a doctor. So she's like worked really, really hard at that, and then now is taking like a big leap of faith to do this, to help me with the brand, and to do something where she's a little bit more has her own schedule. Like I don't think she realized how much different her schedule was than mine. So we started dating, and it was like I would always be like, I'm gonna go on a trip, I'm gonna go somewhere, like, do you want to come? And she's like, can't get off of work.
Yeah.
And then like it was just like a lot of these little things started to creep up. And then we went on a vacation to Cabo with Alex and Layla, and they really hammered you would do so well, like you're such a strong, like good worker and all this stuff. And I think she got really excited about it. And she went all, it's like interesting to me, like I never had one of those jobs, but I could see how hard it was. And I mean, like, I'm sure school costs a lot of money and like all the stresses of all of that stuff. And to see her do it is, I mean, I'll probably never meet another person like that.
It's interesting because at the beginning of the podcast, you were mentioning how you wanted to be a pilot. You went to school for all these things. Whatever happened to all that stuff in terms of wanting to be a pilot? I guess you got some stuff, kinesiology, so you learned some stuff there. But whatever happened to the pilot stuff? Is that still something like you want to be able to fly shit, or is that just
Yeah, it's kind of now.
Okay.
I think Kobe really ruined it for me.
Yeah.
Helicopter.
Yeah, that sucks.
Too soon?
It is what it is. But, I am really curious about this because in the gym, we were talking about how there's like so much opportunity now. And, Andrew, you have a stepdaughter, and it's hard to tell a kid, that college isn't absolutely necessary for everything, right? So what would your advice be for, let's say, a teenager who does want to do something in fitness or who does want to do something in terms of entrepreneurship? Like, what should they try to actually be learning? Because most of these things, you're not going to be learning in school. You're not going to be learning in high school or college.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? So, I mean, I think if I could do it over again, I would just work for free for someone. I would like literally go to the most dope person, start with him, go to the second most dope person, third most dope person, and just see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had people ask me all the time, like, dude, I'll work at your gym for free. I'll do this, I'll do that. And I look at their page, I'm like, they kind of look like a little sketch. I can't really tell. But if it was an awesome person where like I knew they were dope and they wanted to work for free, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And then you're going to learn so much along that way. It's a little bit hard for me at this point. A lot of people want to come to Chalk and learn from me and stuff, but I'm not there all that much.
Yeah.
But when I was there all the time, man, you would have learned so much, and it would just be, I've had people that were coaches and then went and opened their own gyms and stuff like that, or they started their own thing. But that's really what you need to do. Is you need to be around somebody because that person breaks that belief barrier for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, you might think that you need a lot of money to open something, or you need a lot of education, or you need a lot of this. And it's like, no, you need a lot of people skills, and you need a really good, person to give you the loan or whatever it is, right? Whatever your actual limiting factor is, like there's a way to work around it. I mean, a good example is like real estate people. They figure out ways to leverage tons of money so they can buy tons of real estate. It's like, there's ways that you can leverage your friends and leverage, whatever you do have to create whatever lifestyle that you want or you aspire to. You just don't know until you meet someone who knows how.
How do you eat nowadays?
I try to stay mostly like meat and vegetable kind of style. Not by like any other like main reason, just other than like, I know if I eat a lot of meat and a lot of vegetables or not vegetables, but a lot of fruit, then I don't really eat a ton of vegetables, if ever. Not for any other like particular reason than other just like, I just like fruit more. But if I eat a lot more meat and a lot more fruit, then I feel like I'm just going to eat less calories overall. For me, it's always like, I'm a hungry dude. Right. And if I eat too many calories, I'm just going to eat too many calories.
Yeah.
So if the food's available and it's there, I'm going to eat it. So I try to just buy mostly meat and fruit, and I won't really go over.
What about fasting? Have you ever messed around with some of that?
I am not a fasting individual. Only a couple hours can go by. And for me, it's like, nah, like I got to eat. Yeah. I mean, I've had mornings where I'll work from like 5 a.m. to like 2 p.m. and I won't eat just because I've forgotten because I'm so into what I'm doing. But like when that 2 o'clock hits, it's time to go.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to try like a full day off, but it doesn't sound fun to me. So like if it happened by chance, I'd be like, oh cool, I did it, but I'm not going to like, and I don't really think that there's really any benefits to fasting, like just intermittently as much as there is for like long periods of time.
Yeah. It's literally just the caloric restriction that happens since you're not eating all day. That's
helps break you of food though a little bit too, like break you away from it. So you don't have to be feeling like you need something every 3 hours.
Yeah.
As it just gets you a little uncomfortable. And it could change your belief system in yourself a little bit. You were mentioning about your knee. So I would encourage you to break that belief system that your knee is forever the way that it is. I think that you can I think that you'll figure it out and you'll change it.
Dude, if you have any recommendations, I mean, I've tried everything. I've done PRP, stem cells multiple times.
How about a figure 4 leg lock? Like Ric Flair, the finishing move.
I mean, a lot of people have talked to me about the knees over toes guy stuff, but I don't know. I've actually messaged him and I was like, dude, I don't know if your stuff would work for me because I'm bone on bone. Like we're not really.
Like you feel that shit.
Well, when we're done with the podcast, I'll show you my knee. And like I have more bone growth on that one because the bones have been rubbing together for so long. Like I just don't know if there's any sort of rehab that will be good for me. In fact, actually, she was a PA for orthopedic surgeon and she did knee surgeries. And even she's kind of like, yeah, you're kind of fucked.
Do you think you're going to end up replacing that knee? Because I know some people like Matt Vincent, Kelly Starrett, who they ended up getting total knee replacements and they have that range back. Like you'll see Kelly just sitting in a deep squat again. Is that something you think you might do, or you? I've
been a candidate for that for a long time, and I just keep putting it off because I just figure you have to get them like every 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Right? They don't really last like forever. So I'm like, most doctors will tell you like just deal with the pain until you can't anymore, and then you can get it. So I mean, I'm not complaining about my knee like all day every day, but like if I went on like a 400-meter run, I'd be like limping around. Or if I did some box jumps, I'd be like limping around. If I do any Olympic lifting, that impact of like exploding off the ground, I'll be like limping around.
Yeah.
It's been that way for a few years.
Oh yeah. Damn. Since like 2016, maybe 15, 16.
And you said you couldn't squat, but what about like a high box squat?
So even with that, I wind up putting a lot of pressure on one side, and my hip will get all sore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, but that was a good one. Like that was something I was trying to do for a while. But it's so weird. Like literally right now in my program, my one progressive lift on my full body training program is Bulgarian dumbbell split squats. Dude, I'm doing like sets of 10 with 120s in each hand. Like I can split squat a shit ton, and I've back rack lunged 417 pounds. For one rep on each leg. No belt, no shoes, no nothing. Just done that. I did it in Sweden actually with the Olympic training coach, and it was really cool with the barbell shrug team actually.
Yeah.
It's not that lift, but I mean,
oh yeah, there's me doing like 275 like fairly easily with just like split squats.
Jeez, man.
But yeah, I'm really strong at the split squats. I just cannot do two legs at all.
You seem like you have the body of someone who would be amazing at Olympic lifting in general. Like
I was always pretty good. It was weird. I could clean a lot and I could snatch a lot, but I could not jerk very well at all. My best snatch was like 295 pounds when I was 175. And
That's
then
a lot.
So it was 295, and then my best clean and jerk at the time was like 305.
Shit.
So they were like very close, but I had cleaned like 350.
That's interesting. I want to go back to something because I do find it interesting. You mentioned how like you didn't grow up with your dad, but you ended up being exactly like him. And I knew my dad for a few years when I was younger, and then I met him again when I was like I think like 21 at an airport a little bit. But everyone in my family that like has known him knows and says I'm exactly like him, even though he didn't raise me. And I just find that to be a very funny thing, how those types of genetics work. But do you have a relationship with him nowadays, like, or?
I tried, like we tried a little bit, but he's got remarried, and he's like, I think he's like embarrassed to say I have like this 35-year-old kid. So I think I'm just invisible in his life, basically, which is fine. Like it would be worse if I never met him at all. But the fact that I got to meet him, we've had like some pretty decent times, and I'm okay with it.
Fair. Okay.
You were mentioning when you were younger how you didn't want to be like your brothers and sisters, and how you didn't want to be home. Do you think that was kind of steeped in like not wanting to disappoint your mother? Like you maybe wanted to take on more responsibility. I don't know what your brothers and sisters were doing. I don't know if they got into like crazy stuff like drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. But did you kind of just see that chaos and you were like, I just want fucking nothing to do with that?
Yeah, I just was like, so my grandmother, when I was young, she was like wealthy. She's the only person I knew that had money. And I just knew that like when I got older, I wanted like a lifestyle kind of like what she had. And I just knew I wasn't going to get it with like what they were doing. And I didn't even know how to do it. I didn't know anything. To this day, like no one's really like taught me a whole lot about business or anything like that. It was just stuff that I've kind of acquired from other people around me. You know what I mean? Like
not much into a lot of reading and stuff like that.
I read a shit ton now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do a lot of that stuff now. Like now I'm like all into it, but like, you know, all of this kind of built up before I had time for anything. I just kind of was building things off of recommendations from other people. And when I tell you like the whole business story, like whenever I'm around other people who are really business savvy, they're just like, I cannot believe that you built that. Is unbelievable with no coach, no skill set, none of that. I always tell everybody, like, literally, I just had a product that was so good that, like, it just spoke for itself. Like, I'm so lucky that I had a product that was just that good. Because the rest of the heavy lifting kind of, like, went for itself. But if I actually knew real business stuff right now, it would be, like, 20 times, 200 times bigger.
Yeah.
Even now, I would love to have someone kind of help me with some of the things that I really need help with. Like, building, like, a huge team of people to do all these, like, little things would be awesome. And that's something I'm definitely aspiring to want to do now. But, yeah. I think when I was younger, just knowing that I needed to be the opposite of what they were was like, it was pretty easy for me to just kind of be like, oh, I'm just going to do the opposite, just going to do the opposite, just going to do the opposite. And man, to this day, like, I don't think I haven't talked to my brothers and sisters for a long time.
Wow.
And it's like the Regimen thing about me, right? Like when I was younger and I wanted to be in military school, like I can get to the point where it's like, okay, like I know you're my blood and this and that, but you're not actually adding anything to the life. So boom, done. And like, I can just do that with anything. Just boom, done. Everything's done. Like if I don't feel like it's helping or anything like that, I can just be out. And I'm happy for that. Just because it's easy for people to hang on to things for a really long time. And even like, it's the same thing. Like when I get really upset about something, it doesn't really last that long. Kind of on to the next thing, which is great as a business guy because you can hang on to like bad decisions or bad investments that you made. You lost 50 grand doing something, you want to fucking cry about it forever. But yeah.
How did you really make the app grow? You did mention like social media advertising. Was there some other things in there? I mean, you mentioned your background and people were already following you a little bit. But what were, there's got to be other strategies, right?
Without even knowing anything about like real ads and stuff, I would just sit home and I would make ads in my kitchen. And I would try different things like before, obviously TikTok wasn't out. Like everyone talks about hooks now and like ways to keep people engaged and all that. And I was just kind of doing all that on my own. And I was just geeking out on it and I'd look up different ads that like really stole people's attention. One of my favorite ads of all time is actually the Squatty Potty. Have you seen the ad?
Oh yeah,
with the unicorn. It's the fucking best ad of all time.
Ago, vaguely remember it.
It's so like a unicorn's like all constipated and stuff, and they like put his legs up, and all of a sudden like poop is flying out in like in rainbows.
Okay, I remember it. Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, I have to make crazy ads like this, and like I literally have ads for like some of my fitness or some of my nutrition challenges. Like one of my nutrition best ads of all time, I'm wearing a turtleneck in my kitchen, just a white turtleneck. And I'm just staring at the camera and I'm like, I don't know what's hotter, the 50,000 bodies I've changed with the Earn Your Carbs lifestyle challenge or this turtleneck. Click the link below, find out. And like, I'm like dead serious. And like the fact that like I would launch that, like people just were like, bro, I saw this ad. It was ridiculous. Like I have ones of me like jamming on a ukulele, like trying to sing. I can't sing for fucking shit. And it's just hilarious and people will click on it. And I think that stuff helped a lot. And a lot of things that, a lot of people don't like to do discounts or do things like free trials and stuff like that. But I've always found that like a big free trial always like worked really well for me. Like I'd always give people like a month to try it for free instead of like a week. And whenever I did like a big month, that would always help a lot because people would be like, the first week sometimes, a lot of like the most successful apps in the world right now, whether it's the Sweat app or Center app or a lot of these really, really big ones, I can go off for days. I can compare companies and stuff, but like a lot of them always do a 7-day free trial, and it's what I do even now. But the first 7 days sometimes is like you trying to figure out how to fucking use the thing, right? But it's like you give someone a little bit longer. It sucks because you might not find your return on ads on your spend really, right? Like I'll have months where I'll spend. I think like last month I spent $145,000 on ads, and a lot of that was like just throwing out a Hail Mary for people to sign up for a free month. And I still don't really know what's going to happen yet. It could be terrifying. It could be great. It could be, I don't know. So we'll find out. But like, yeah, I've done stuff like that where it's like, I really just hope that, people make it something that's automatic in their life, like all the things that we just do every single day. And it's like, if I can just make my program part of like that automatic thing for you, then I'm really happy with it. I've lost a lot of money fucking around trying to do some of this stuff. But like I said, like for me, it's the lifestyle, right? Like I love my life. Like I love what I get to do. You know how pumped I am to be here right now? I'm fucking pumped. Like this is so cool.
You kind of mentioned that you had before COVID, you were doing a really big podcast, but it stopped.
It's called Real Chalk.
Real Chalk. So what are you still do? Are you going to be doing that again? Is it something?
I for sure want to bring it back. It's like on my priority list right now. I think so. Like when I was part of the Barbell Shrugged collectives when they used to have the collective. And I was their highest watched podcast, I think, on the collective. And then even when we broke apart, I kind of told him, I was like, hey man, like, you know, like some of your ads are getting kind of mixed in my ads, and like there's pictures of me on some of your guys' products, and like I kind of have to like separate myself because my shit's getting kind of big and I don't want people getting confused.
Yep.
Well, it kind of sucked because like people would meet me up and they'd be like, bro, like I'm following the Barbell Shrug podcast, has a photo of you on it, but like I don't think this is what you do. I'm like, it's not. So then like, you know, I had to like talk to Anders, which is like, you know, when I was broke and I didn't have anything, he's let me train in his gym. He's like literally like my brother. I felt horrible telling him about it, but it was like, you know, I got to do my own thing. And then a lot of people came off and kept watching me. Like I was getting like 40, 50,000 downloads on a podcast. Like when that wasn't even like, those were really unheard of numbers.
Nice. And
then literally when COVID happened, I had to like really step on the gas for the online program because the gym closed down. So we had to all close the gyms for, I think it was like 4 or 5 months. I only closed mine for 1 month, and I got 2 fines for staying open. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with that. I wasn't really super public about it because I didn't really want to like draw a lot of attention to myself, but I stayed open, just put like some paper up. And like during that month, I had to start making programs that were like limited equipment, body weight, all this stuff. And I didn't really want to make it. I didn't really like that stuff. I didn't really believe in that stuff, but it's what the brand needed to stay alive during that time and get people to not cancel their membership.
yeah.
So dude, like I'm so obsessed with making like one-of-a-kind style programs that like I wanted to make something so cool. So like I spent all my time doing that, and I just didn't do any podcasts for like a year. And then I got kind of used to just like not doing the podcast. So, you know, it just kind of took a back seat. But people all the time are just like, dude, I miss your podcast so much. Like I see people in airports all over the world, and they're just like, dude, I used to listen to the podcast. It's like the number one thing. I'm so surprised at how strong a podcast is.
Do you listen to podcasts?
Not as much. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. A lot of audiobooks.
What about TV? You watch some TV?
Never.
Never. You don't watch like any series like Game of Thrones or anything like that? Or?
I got really into Yellowstone because I just like love mountain towns.
People keep talking about that one. Never watched it yet.
I'm actually you know, Zoe and I, we flew into Reno, drove here, and then after here, we're going to go back to probably Lake Tahoe, and then I'm trying to buy a house there.
Cool.
Because I love the mountains so much. And like I just loved Montana a lot, and I just think like when you're watching the show, it kind of just brings the mountain vibe in. I just think it's super cool.
Yeah.
But that's probably the only show I've watched in years and years.
Have you ever seen 1843?
I have not. That's like
a
a prequel.
spin-off show of that show, and it's better than Yellowstone.
I've heard that.
It's fucking really dope. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yellowstone gets to be kind of funny because it gets to be like a country western, like music video to a certain extent. You know, you're
and like murder and mystery.
Yeah.
I'll still watch, but I am curious. Are there any black people in Yellowstone? I'm just curious.
Huh.
There is, yeah.
There are?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. In both shows there's black people.
I was just curious because I think back in those times.
I think it's just to make sure they're covered. I think
I'm pretty sure.
Exactly.
It's like you gotta have one sprinkled in there.
Exactly.
Affirmative reaction.
But he's not in a wheelchair.
There we go.
Oh man.
Is he at least gay?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, he's gotta do something.
I don't know. I don't know if you're allowed to be gay back then.
Probably not.
That's a bad combo for that time.
Yeah.
Gay and black. You're dead. Straight up.
Have you ever been to Sharky's? Sharky's is in your area.
Yeah,
Newport Beach.
that's what I was thinking about in my mind. I was like, was that what he's talking about? Yeah, that's actually really close to where I live.
I love that place. That's where I met my wife.
Really?
But not at the Newport Beach one in like Redondo or Hermosa or whatever.
Okay, yeah. I live right on like Lido Island, if you know where that is.
I do.
Yeah, that's where I live now.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get smashed if we don't ask you though, but the books that because you said you've been getting into books a lot more recently. I don't know what recently is for you, but what have been some books that you've really liked that have had a good effect on maybe your mindset, the way you look at business, the way you look at, I don't know, entrepreneurship?
Well, the best entrepreneur book right now is probably Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers. Honestly, it is fucking really, really, really good.
Yeah.
He writes it. He's just an incredible writer, and it's a great way to create your offer that basically is such a good offer that it makes people feel stupid to say no. And it's a great book. And then in terms of training, Dr. Mike Israelty, RP Strength guy, his Principles of Strength or Principles of Hypertrophy,
yeah,
fucking. I mean, I've read it 3 times. I'm probably just going to read it a fourth time because it's so fucking good.
I have it. I'm going to revisit it now that you say that.
Dude, it's so fucking good. Like I've read all of like Mark Ripeto's. I've read like all the training books, but I just love how he breaks everything up from like, like maintenance volume to minimal effective volume to max recoverable volume. And then like explaining to everybody that like all this stuff that you're doing in the gray areas in between is just extra work for no reason. So for those of you listening right now, it's like we all have a maintenance amount of volume in our body that we need to hit to maintain where we are at. And it is way, way lower than you think it is. It's like we could work out twice a week and do like 2 exercises per body part and we'd be cool.
I enjoy wasting my time.
Totally, right? I mean, like, yeah, a lot of us do. And it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
I don't even believe in maintenance volume. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And you guys should all listen to it. I'm like, do you believe in it? I don't know. So it's like,
you would just feel uncomfortable doing that low amount of volume.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Lose all my gains. I can't do that.
So it's like, I think that's like super, super interesting. And then he has like the minimal effective volume and the max effective volume. So I almost feel like a lot of people are in the gray area between maintenance and minimal effective. And I think the rest of the population is above recoverable. Like the interval people are at max recoverable volume. And then the other people who aren't really getting results, who bitch that they're a hard gainer and all these different things, they're all like in this low end. And a lot of people just aren't really in that mid range. And I just think it's a great way to define it. I think if you're a strength and conditioning coach on any level, you train, not even strength conditioning, but you're just a coach for people, you create programs as a trainer. I think it's the best book on the market. I think that you do need to have some general knowledge from some other books, probably just like practical programming, probably from Mark Ripetoe. I think he's the one who made that book. That's probably like a good general. The guy that owns Legion supplements,
Mike Matthews.
Yeah, he has a book called Bigger, Leaner, Stronger and Beyond Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. They're both really, really good, but they're very, very like, they're like basic knowledge stuff. Like for if you read it, you'd be like, oh yeah, I know all this stuff. But if you're someone who doesn't know the stuff, it's probably the best book for a beginner.
Okay.
What's your stack? Because I know people are going to ask.
What do you mean?
Well, your steroid stack. Your cycle.
I told you, like, I would really love to do testosterone. Actually,
I'm glad we're revisiting this topic because I was going to ask him the same thing.
I would love to.
Yeah, bro, what are you on? Like, just Andrew, you stopped recording, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
The internet's off.
Yeah, everything's off. What are
You're
you
actually
on?
making me blush because I actually don't. I genuinely don't feel like I look anything.
Just please, just tell us. It's okay. There's only a few million people listening, I think. I mean,
you know what I'd like to
worst that
know?
could happen.
Because I mean, I'm sure you guys have either taken testosterone or maybe currently take testosterone or anything like that. But do you guys think, as someone with me who has 350 levels, do you think, and I'm 35, do you think it's worth me trying it, or do you think I should just leave it alone?
I think it would be a good idea to check in with some doctors and have them look at
I've
your
talked to
blood
some,
and communicate back and forth with them and have them like make the call for you.
Okay.
But I would also say, like, if you don't feel like you have symptoms of any kind, like if you feel good and everything seems to be okay, I don't even know if there's a reason to check.
Do you think aesthetically it would change very much, or just like a little?
You're already really jacked. I mean, it might make the whole thing maybe a little bit easier.
This is the thing I think about because I haven't done testosterone. People think I have, but I will do it at some point when really things start. I can tell things are going
This
downhill.
is so he can cover his bases.
You. When things start going downhill, then I'll do it. But if, like, I look at it like this: if you feel good, you're performing well, you're still able to make the gains you want to make, then why do something that you may have to do for decades, right? Like, I don't want to have to.
It's just the inconvenience part for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's for me, it's like I really think it'd be dope to do, but it's like literally just the inconvenience part of it. I'm like, oh, it sounds like so annoying to have to jab myself all the time. Fuck.
There's a lot people have to take into account. Like, you need to get blood work done. You need to make sure all your health markers are in check. Like, I think there's still with that stuff, I think it's still kind of iffy how to make sure you're still super healthy when doing it. At least that's what I think about in my mind.
If you're on a hormone replacement, it's not that inconvenient. It's a shot once a week. It's about half a cc, which is just not a lot of fluid.
Isn't it better for your blood, though, to just have more multiple shots, though?
You can do that as well. Yeah, there's some people that will do that. They'll take 2 or 3 shots. Some people, do it every other day.
He's done some research.
If you're starting to
I've done the research for sure.
If you start to talk about, performance enhancing, that's when things can get a little weird, because you start to take more testosterone, you start to take more of maybe some other things, and then you really do have to pay attention to your blood work, and then you might have to take other shit to kind of counteract the different things that you're taking.
See, I don't care about the performance.
But if you're on just a base level, even when you're on a base level, coming off is less problematic. So
yeah, there's always the balancing act, and for you, I don't think aesthetically or even performance you'll notice anything. And I could be way off on this, Mark, please correct me, but it's of my opinion that it's going to benefit the person that's not quite there yet. So like, if you got on there, you might notice like, oh, I do, maybe muscles are popping a little bit better. But if you were like way out of shape and then you got into like decent shape, that jump is gigantic, right? Because you went from like flabby to like, oh shit, I got some definition now. Fuck, dude, imagine if I was already jacked. Like, well, that jump's not going to be that big. I could be way off, but as far as a TRT dose, now if you up that, of course, then you're gonna be on an actual like cycle dose. But then that's when the balancing act comes into play, and then it's like, do you really want to have to get blood work done that often? Like, no, nobody does, but you have to.
When I'm older, like older, like to the point where it's like 50, 40, 50, 60, like if my levels are down enough where it's like, you fucking really should do it, then I'm definitely going to do it. Like, I'm definitely not like against it. Like anyone who's just like, what do you think? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like if you're a fireman and you don't sleep sleep and you get like shitty recovery and all this stuff and you really want to put muscle on, you should probably think about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm always like pro for anyone really doing it who needs it. I don't have anything against it. I feel like people are so weird about it. It's just like, who gives a fuck? Like it's like your body. Do what you want with it.
Yeah, and
just don't do it. Don't do it and say you don't do it. Can't stand these motherfuckers on Instagram that are just like, oh yeah, like all time natural. I'm like, bro, get the fuck out of here with that.
That's what people think about me.
Yeah. But what else?
Yeah, but I mean, you could tell me you're natural and I'd be okay with it. There's some dudes where I'm just like, come on, dude.
I get you. Well, thank you.
What I was gonna say was like, if because you were mentioning like, oh, if I'm like 40, 50 and my levels are down, but if you feel good, maybe you're still not even ready, or not. You still don't even need it. Because like Sean Baker, like he posts his labs all the time, and it's like his testosterone is like very low.
In the dumps. Yeah.
But that guy works his ass off. Like, I mean, literally, like, so I stayed at his house, and I just remember hearing loud ass music at like 6 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And he is going fucking crazy on a rower, doing a bunch of shit on the slant board, and he's jacked as fuck, and his levels are in the fucking gutter. So like, and he's, I don't know how old he's like in his 50s, I think.
54.
Yeah.
54, 53.
And I searched, I didn't find any testosterone in the whole house. I was looking everywhere. It was not there. I was looking for carbs and fucking tests, and nothing was there.
Yeah. Yeah, just throughout my whole career, the only thing I've ever taken was growth hormone. I've taken it up to like 6 months, probably 2 separate occasions. And then just like a ton of just stupid pro hormone stuff.
Notice anything from growth hormone?
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, like, because I was always injured during the time and I wasn't training super hard. I was training as hard as I could with my upper body. But, I probably had the same diet, and I was probably getting like a little bit softer during that time because I wasn't really doing any legs or anything, like, I wasn't really expelling a lot of energy because I'm like in crutches and stuff. Like I tore my ACL and different things like that was kind of when I was doing it. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh, we have a sponsor of the podcast, and my buddy Smokey's over there, so we can have some doctors take a look at you. We go through a company called Merrick Health, and they can just take a look at your blood work, and then you can kind of go back and forth with them on that. But it's not like they're going to be like, yo, you need steroids. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're going to go back and forth with you and try to figure out what's going to be best for you.
They're smart with
that.
Well,
dude, the cool thing for me is like, I'm so open about stuff that like for my followers on Instagram and stuff, if I ever did it, I'd be like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing now, and we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Like I'm always like about that. I think that's just the honesty is the best policy for all that stuff, I think. I think people respect you so much more.
That's true.
Yeah.
Awesome having you here today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Andrew, take us on out of here, buddy.
Sure thing. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Please drop us some comments down in the old comment section for the algorithm. Seriously, it really does help. And make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe if you guys are not subscribed already. Please follow the podcast at MB Power Project on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where are you at?
The Discord is probably over 1,600 people.
Damn.
So go to the description and go to Discord, because we'll have some special links in there that only Discord cats are going to be name again. So go there right now. Nsima Inyang on Instagram, YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Ryan, where can people find you, your app, and all the shit you do?
Ryan Fish, RyanFisch on Instagram. Chalk Performance Training on Instagram. GymRyan.com, GYMRYAN.com, because everything started with a gym.
Okay.
And it rhymes and it sounds cool. And yeah, everything's on those websites or Instagrams, or click links in the bio, whatever.
Cool. Does this guy look like a kangaroo to you?
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Does it look like a kangaroo?
I mean, a little bit, yeah. But
Oh, what happened to
Really?
the fucking punch? Oh, it's
but
right there.
mostly a dog.
Yeah, most.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fucking dog. Our last guest, like, is that a kangaroo? Or like, what
No,
the
I
fuck?
would never say it's a kangaroo. He's in a kangaroo position.
Yeah, he might
Maybe
have been.
that's why.
Yeah, maybe he was high. I don't know. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.